Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Bladixay, back for another week of League of Legends into round 5 here. I am joined here by Dirty Gator. Why don't you
What
introduce
is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back.
Yep, and we are about to head into this champion select. I believe everyone is ready. We're about to swiftly start this champion select. Hopefully all the players are set for this 6 p.m. kickoff, because sometimes here in NT Sports we're a bit tardy, to say the very least. I'm not naming anyone Destiny, but here we go. Already into champion select, straight into the action. I'm feeling a bit hyped up after some of those songs. Some of them were a bit mellow. The playlist, I gotta work out the kinks, but some of those are bangers, and I'm already hyped up for this week. And this matchup in particular is pretty hype. We've got Corona Spaceship versus Job Seekers. Job Seekers finding himself towards the top of the leaderboard, and Corona Spaceship is really finding themselves in the middle of the pack here. So if they do want to strike on those teams that are along the top here, they've got to take down JSA. So it's basically their initiation into the top tier of NTU Sports. Can they make it to the S tier on that tier list, or are they gonna settle for A and B? We'll find out.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, lots of tiers going on here. But why don't you talk us through some of these lightning fast bands that are just going through here?
These look like pretty targeted picks. In terms of the bands here, teams starting to get pretty familiar with what each other likes to run. Nocturne, the only real pick out here that I would say would be a meta ban. What do you think,
Yeah,
Mr. Blade Xer?
I'd say definitely Nocturne was very meta, but he was recently nerfed pretty hard. Stridebreaker and Nocturne himself were both hit in the same patch, and it pretty much plummeted his lane win rates. He's still completely viable in the jungle, but in terms of lane, they really tried to butcher him there, and it really did take him down a few notches there. So even now, you might not even consider that a meta pick, but I imagine they've been studying each other. I know in particular Zonox is very favoured towards that Yorick pick, which he's picked many seasons. So obviously some targets coming through. But yeah, what do you think about the Caitlyn and Thresh combo in the bot lane? They've just locked away.
Really like to see that's definitely going to deter against any kind of center pick. Playing center into Caitlyn is not a good time. In fact, it is the opposite of a good time. It's a horrible time. I definitely like the Nautilus pick. I love the Sejuani pick. Lots of hard, spanking CC coming out. Really independent ADC. Kaiser Big hovered picked.
Yeah, it's looking
this is starting to get real juicy.
It's a strong composition already. Just those 3 picks alone, pretty good together, and then it's not really reliant. It's still pretty flexible. There's lots of dive on that on that team composition, but you can still play front to back. You can still peel off with those sort of champions. Nothing really given away by the side of Corona Spaceship with their draft right now. Pretty good, but Sejuani does have a particular counter when she has that frost armor available, and it looks like Sergeant Crone's been doing his homework, figuring out what Cropro likes to pick, and he's developed this Trundle in the jungle. I can only imagine that is going to really inhibit that Sejuani there in the jungle.
For those of us that don't know, can you give us a very hot, quick rundown of why the Trundle is a counterpick to the Sejuani?
So basically, any champions that have amplified armor and magic resist for a short period of time, specifically aftershock champions, or better yet, champions like Rammus or Sejuani that have inbuilt abilities that give them that spike of armor and MR. For example, Sejuani's Frost armor, it gives her a little bit of armor and MR until she starts combat, then it fades away after the start there. So she's got about 3-6 seconds where she's probably at Malphite levels of armor, probably sitting on 300. However, Trundle doesn't care about that. He just cares about the amount of armor you have at that single moment. So if he presses ult on you when you have 300 armor, he's stealing that 300 armor. It doesn't matter if you drop down to 100 afterwards. In fact, the way the calculations go is as soon as you drop down, it calculates the drop to your normal armor, but Trundle still negates the amount of armor that you had during your passive. So sometimes Rammus and Sejuani can go into negative amounts of armor and magic resist. So
and there you go. You wouldn't believe it, ladies and gentlemen. That is exactly how you put Sejuani on the spit. All right, coming in.
It's pretty
fans
difficult.
are out. Diana, Fizz, Tristana. All right, we're seeing some pretty nasty advancing here. Set coming out. I like this. I like this.
Yeah,
Good pick.
so this composition from the right side here is pretty well rounded. They've got some beefcakes in there. They're really just lacking on that solid engage. You could argue that Trundle Pillar does assist with that a lot. But yeah, after Stridebreaker nerf, Set does struggle to get into that range. So unless they're landing those magical hooks, which I know Shortmaster has been known throughout, even Boy I believe played Blitzcrank in the first week. We have to see how they get around this. The Urgot getting locked away last second there, and we're going to see what the mid lane pick is to round off this composition. Now, I find this pretty interesting for Corona Spaceship. I believe in previous weeks we've seen Thievens in the mid lane, but right now he's sitting in that support role here. And Hunt, I believe, he's been the main flexor of their team. I believe he was a sub to come in at the start, and he started off in the jungle, went down to the support role there for a couple of weeks. Now I think he's finding himself in the mid lane here. So Hunt, very flexible and going wherever this team needs him to go here. And I'm excited to see how he's going to perform versus one of the seasoned mid laners of the NT Sports scene, which is Chris Strider. And we'll see. He's got counterpick here.
I really don't know how I feel about the composition with that Victor in there. Obviously, very strong picks coming in. They got a lot of finish front to back, but I still just don't know. It's definitely looking chunkier than what we're seeing from Zonox, Sergeant Crow, and Chris Strider in terms of the health bars and armor coming in, but I really don't know if the damage is going to be enough. It just looks a little lacking. What do you think?
Alright, so looking at this Corona Spaceship side here, they definitely have a pretty solid front to back. They've got so much reliable CC, they've got good disengage, they've got pretty beefy front line. Yeah, you got a recipe for a success. It's obviously just the Victor and Kaiser early game. They're offering you next to nothing in the damage department here. So that Trundle early game is going to be so crazy. This champion's known to do super well in these early skirmishes. So is the champion like Set. They really have to play their cards right and make sure they get to the scaling point. I think by level 13, we'll start to see them take off with this composition. But they have so much playmaking on the side of Job Seekers, so we don't know if they're going to make it there yet. So pretty even draft, I'd say. If I had to give it to a professional team, I would favor Corona Spaceship.
Where's this Wayne? Corona Spaceship?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Personally, I like the aggressiveness and just the general dive damage mentality that Job Seekers Alliance may have. I'm throwing my lot in with Job Seekers Alliance without taking into account any of their skill-based matchup or anything like that. Purely throwing it in with them. You're throwing it in with Corona Spaceship. Do I have that right?
Yeah, we've locked in different votes here, and yeah, mine was mine was impartial to the placements as well, because I believe Job Seekers is placed higher. So even though I like the composition of Corona Spaceship, even though they're a lower tier team, I would still give it over to them right here with this draft. But we will have to see. But right now, we got to give some shout outs to our sponsors. It's been a while. Got to make sure we're reminding everyone how much we love our Paws Iced Coffee. It's been hard carrying me through work recently. I've been staying up too late at night, and honestly, buying those big cartons of iced coffee in the morning and just having that waiting for you in the fridge every morning. Well, it's a lifesaver. Northern Territory Government doing great things for the scene, not just next series. Well, shout out to Northern Territory Government. They've been helping out a lot. McDonald's Darwin, always there, always helping us out. We've had a few parties after lockdown. We need that hangover cure. On standby for sure. And speaking of, hopefully you guys are all right over in Victoria at the moment, because
please don't.
We won't bring the politics into the stream, but yeah, you guys may need some McDonald's in your life soon. But we're going to go over to the minor sponsors and give them their shout out as well. Next Year Entertainment, Serotonic Beauty, VR Gamers, Game & Creations, Tracy Village Social and Sports Club, Hot Springs Tavern, The Rabbit Hole, Palace of India, Fresh Point Cafe, John John's, Diamond Barbers, District North Kitchen, Wicked Energy, Joyce Main, Next Level Gym, and Bell Accounting. Now, guys, please, if you're in the chat, make sure you're interacting today of all days, because we finally taking a page out of Rocket League and have a spin wheel for League of Legends here. So we've got some giveaways to go to the people who are active in chat. And right now, it's pretty stiff competition. We've had some weeks where, the competition in chat, it's been lively. There's been some spicy games where people are talking a lot. But right now, I think we're getting back into it. The stream's just kicked off. Make sure you guys are interacting. My co-caster's already trying to get in on it. You know, you guys take a page out of his book. Do not be shy and get into this chat because we got stuff to give away. Now, that almost does it for our spectator delay here. And now we got to just readjust back into the mindset of the game coming up here. So, yeah, the onus is really on job seekers to make plays in the early game because we have identified that one team does pretty heavily outscale despite small matchups like the Trundle into the Sejuani. We're still pretty convinced.
Absolutely.
Still pretty convinced that Corona is going to scale up into a monster team fighting team later. But when you have picks like
if you let the Sejuani get there, absolutely. I'm very hoping to see Sergeant Crone be incredibly active in the early game. I'm looking into Camp, Chris Strider, Camp Zonox, trying to find an early lead and absolutely snowball the heck out of this game, for lack of better words.
Yeah. I'm just going to make sure this client is reading. The loading screen should be displaying, but of course, technical difficulties. Oh, there we go. I just had to give it a quick refresh, and we are back here. So, nothing out of the ordinary as far as I'm concerned. Maybe you might think PTA is a bit spicy on the Urgot. It is pretty meta versus the squishier matchups, but versus some of those bruises, the PTA just starts tickling them. You'd rather have that extended trade from that Conqueror for sure, but definitely the Trundle with PTA, that is just such a strong skirmishing champion, especially versus some of those immobile characters like the Victor. If he doesn't get his phase rush and you pop a pillar behind him, he's really got no choice but to flash there. Ari jumping on top of him, so much threat onto Hunt. We'll see if he can pilot this champion well around those threats and how Quopro is going to react.
Absolutely. They're not really seeing anything too far askew from what we're expecting. Definitely trying to PTA. I would be, as you mentioned, they're looking for something more Conqueror ways. I'd expecting if he's taking PTA to be doing some incredibly early ganks, looking for some single target nuking. Is that online with what you would be expecting from a PTA Trundle?
Yeah, that's basically what I hope for. I want to see some ganks onto champions like Victor, who are especially weak into this matchup early. That charm is going to give him nightmares there. If Ari gets access to her ult, she can basically just toy with him. He's got no hard CC. You drop the gravity field, she just dashes straight off of it, right? So you're really going to have an Ari in your face, and the jungler being there to assist her just pretty much guarantees the kill if there's no flash available. So I'm expecting Victor to be burning flash off cooldown if the jungler is in his lane here. So we'll have to see. We've got some pings early, so I want to make sure we're synced up before this action hits the rift here.
Let's do it. Where are you at, brother?
24, 25,
26,
right.
27. I'll pause for half a second. And there we are. We're synced up. We're looking good. 3-point defense, 4-point defense from both teams. Nothing crazy. No invades. A lot of respect coming out.
Yeah.
Pretty much what you'd like to see.
Actually, there is a small weakness in this setup. They've got two people in the bot side, and you can see the way Chris Strider's posturing in the mid lane, he actually won't be able to see someone coming into the mid lane brush if they hug the wall there, and he won't be able to see someone if they come through that little pixel brush. Forget the specific name. I'm sure there's like some name behind this brush, but basically he's not watching anything crazy. He does see them if they come out of that brush.
Anything at all. It's actually, that's a great point out for anyone that wants to know the early game setup for these kinds of compositions. Excuse my dog here that's going mental. I'm gonna leave it to you. I'll be back in just a moment. Thank you.
Oh man, I was thinking we were about to get Nasus on the shoutcasting there. He had something to say for sure. Can't believe Dirty Gator cut him off like that. But here we are, just started stock standard start between the two teams. Blue and red start, both bot lanes leashing, giving those jungles a good setup because we're gonna see a lot of action probably around the junglers this game. No too crazy matchups. I know there's a lot of hooks in the bot lane, so I'm expecting if anything to happen, it is going to be in that bot lane, especially when you have a player like OnFleek who's been doing pretty well in the scene. I'm expecting a lot of action to be happening in this bot lane. Oh, already.
Thank you for your patience with me. Excuse the Nasus ganking me early in the mid. Unreal, unreal.
Unreal.
I'm about to go into lockdown and NASA's already ganking me. This is just sensational.
Yeah, you gotta ward up. I was just gonna say maybe we could have another guest on the shoutcasting. It seems like he had some things to say there, or she. I'm not too sure, but yeah, right now as I was going on the bot lane, I'm expecting to be pretty hectic. We've seen Stairboy and Shortmaster to be a pretty coin flip bot lane. Sometimes they're doing really amazing for job seekers. They're putting the team on their back. Other times they're straight running it. There's no other way to put it. Like a coin flip is a coin flip. You're going heads or tails here, but On Fleek has been a lot more steady for his team. He's never had really poor performances. He's always doing pretty well in that 80 carry role, but he has had those crazy carry performances too, so he's not too passive at all. He's not like the reckless of Northern Territory esports here.
Absolutely there.
So,
I really like Sergeant Crow's clearing at this point compared to the Sejuani's Quo-Pro. He's cleared a lot more in terms of monetary value. He's cleared an extra camp on top of that, and he's got priority on the scuttle, and that's going to give him a huge lead, considering.
I'm actually quite curious how he did it. I'm not too familiar with Jungle Trundle, but I do know that he tends to struggle with Raptors in the early game, and we've already seen he's taken it. So it must be some Trundle technology. I don't know if you either Raptors does it burn them all with the jungle item. He's definitely practiced on this pick, and it's going to do so much work into the Sejuani, I imagine.
I think it was Copro's mistake in actually.
What's going
Zonox.
on? Zonox is being extremely aggressive. Burns the flash there in just a short trade. He kind of opted in for that too, but wasn't expecting the Urgot E. But we're not stopping there. Feven's in the bot lane going for a hook on Fleek. As we know, early game kites are not too crazy at this point, and they're really looking to push this trade even further. Stairboy trying to find those traps. Shortmaster trying to fly onto them, but luckily they're positioning well around it. No huge losses.
Close, yet no catch at all there, my lord. Damage all round, fighting every lane. Quo-Pro looking for it.
It's a bait. He goes for the flash, finds the route on the Stairboy, but he doesn't look like in danger at all. They burn their heal. Feven's getting out of that. They almost find the stun. Finally, it comes through, and they burn the flash of the Thresh. But even Trade and Summers in the bot lane there, so they did pretty well around that jungle gank.
Shortmaster was starting to sweat there just a little bit. Hot tamales.
Yeah.
Okay, action all round. That's what we like to see.
Yeah.
Okay, bit of an action-filled game.
Yeah, definitely. In the mid lane, not so much. As I say that, we see a charm come through onto Hunt. No
Chris
crazy
Ryder
trades.
says, "Do not ignore me."
Yeah, but
I like it.
unfortunately, there's only so much you can do. That mana bar is looking awfully low. He's probably looking to reset here. But yeah, I wouldn't expect too much in the mid lane till the Lost Chapters come out. Till Trundle makes his way mid lane, then Victor really starts shaking in his boots there. His non-existent boots, which he's looking to build, which are going to help him run away from this Ahri. But yeah, he's got his work cut out for him in this mid lane. You really do have to be careful. But scratch that. Chris Ryder's dropping the ignite. He doesn't have the mana though, as I was talking about. But he's just opting, trying to get him out of that lane, force the reset, so Chris Ryder can go for his reset here too. And most of the time when you drop ignites like that, by the time you go looking for your next kill, your ignite's already back up. So I'm not in complete disagreement with that trade there. But
You think that might have been worth it?
it could be worth it. It forces him, the Victor, straight out of lane. He can get this free reset, and depending if he resets well enough, and he plays it pretty passive over the next couple minutes, the Ignite's probably going to be back up for his next kill attempt. But
Has gained a complete, absolute dragon priority from the mid lane there, so Trundle's not going to have any issue picking up that mountain dragon. So 4 minutes to spare. Now 5 minutes, excuse me. Dragon respawn. Probably looking more Shelly side on the top side. Hot tamales. This game is accelerating at a pretty decent pace. Despite no kills dropping either. I'm a bit dismayed.
I just looked at the chat. David really, he's got to take up a career in the comedy as well. NASA's ganking Renekton top because you're dirty gator. Yeah, of course he ganks the crocodile. It's his brother, Renekton. Oh,
absolutely.
It all makes sense now. No wonder the dogs are flying into the room. It's probably harping on about some year-long rivalry or something. I don't know how the lore goes. I'll have to study up. But, oh, we got some more action in the bot lane. Screw lore, action in the bot. They're just trying to peel off. Shortmaster and Stairboy taking those short trades around Caitlyn's cooldowns. And yeah, they're doing pretty well for themselves. And look how even this game is thus far.
Despite how it's looking in the bot lane there, I do... Oh, he's looking... GoPro!
Nah, they know the Ari
Doesn't
ult is
find it.
available, the flash is available, no kills there. You gotta be careful of that Trundle counter gank, but he's not counter ganking you, he's ganking your
Sergeant
top
Crone
lane.
on his own mission.
Yeah, he's seen the Sejuani pop up top there. So many ganks, but not much burns. Is unfortunately we've seen a flash come out bot lane, but yeah, these jungles are trying to find angles, but the laners are laying down the vision. We see now like pretty good vision in this game thus far. We're catching out jungles, and that's usually where NT Esports struggles. And he's gone for the play here onto Sergeant Crone. And that's what I'm talking about. Sergeant Crone caught shop and he drops the ward into the bush, sees him recalling there and goes for the play. Sergeant Crone had to be watching out for that.
Gobble, gobble, eat it up. Yes, sir. Thank you very much. GoPro was looking for the invade. Oh, my Shotmaster puts it off. Is this something? Can they find something out of this?
I don't think so. They just got the numbers advantage here. They got to be careful. Thresh with no flash is getting locked down into this Chaos Storm. Drops the hunt there. Beautiful pickup on the blue as well. And the coordination is there. Chris Ryder looking to trade one back. On fleet overstepping just a little bit, but he ends up getting put in the Glacial Prison. Gets dropped down. Double kill for Hunt. The hook's coming through. Comes through with a killer instinct. No cooldowns though. No mana. Stairboy escapes with his life. But
oh my,
does it stop there? On fleet. Protect me, Mr. President! The Mr. President on the bullet. Sergeant Crone can't find anything. There's 4 champions still there. And this is usually what we see job seekers doing to other teams. They group up in the early game much earlier than you expect, and they basically just death ball it towards you. They use the numbers advantage really well, but Corona Spaceship taking a page out of their book and running that playbook against them here. What a crazy
Spaceship
fight.
did have a really difficult matchup last week against Destiny. Correct me if I am wrong, and they've really learnt from that one there, and have absolutely gutter stomped job seekers aligned to their own jungle there. It's not looking good. That is a really solid lead with 2k on the flop.
Yeah, that is pretty difficult to be handing over to the scaling team. Kills especially for Victor. 3 kills there gives him 75 stacks to his passive. Every 100 stacks you unlock that new ability. So he's probably 1.5 right now, abilities augmented. And we see Chris Ryder must be feeling the pressure. He doesn't even walk back to lane. He's looking to pick up kills here. Look at his position.
3 people on top side. Yes, certainly.
They're coming in. No vision onto Pandemonium. He has no flash. Do they find a good pillar? Almost.
No.
Beautiful charm. They surely have the damage to finish this one off. Unfortunately, Pandemonium, you're playing pretty safe there. He smelled something, but he didn't smell the Aria with the flash there. Coming through with that charm, securing that kill. Really good trade back. They needed to find something. Get something going in this top lane because they just bled a lot of resources on the bot side.
Interestingly enough, Sergeant Crone does opt out of trying to take the Rift Herald there and does go back into the bot lane to cover. I thought he would have picked up the Herald there. Maybe sacrificed a plate or 2 for that one. Dragon up shortly, 30 seconds.
Now,
This most likely...
oh, Sergeant Crone again going for it, but he doesn't have anywhere near the power compared to that Victor there. That Victor just picked up so many kills. The Trundle didn't even have his ult available, so he's really just trying to do some magic there. There's no way Victor would lose that 1v1 at this point, but he's just testing his limits, ends up escaping with his life. Nothing too crazy, but yeah, definitely has to be careful around that Victor for the rest of the game.
A simple cover turning into a life and death situation for Sergeant Crone there. Not looking too hot. Surprisingly enough, Crone Spaceship did have the priority on the Dragon, but they have gone and backed off at this point. Maybe Jobseeker's Alliance can get it back in terms of the vision at this point.
Yeah, and I think that's just a straight up misplay here. They really should have been wrestling control of this bot lane, but looks like they're trying to wrestle it back right now. He ends up getting the killer instinct, the Thresh. Dark Passage gets him out of harm's way. Thievens trying to chase down, but the traps blocks him off. Action in the mid lane here. Quopro going for the siege with the Rift Herald, but they are just defending so well. Sergeant Crone and Chris Ryder hold the line. And oh my god, we didn't even get to see what happened bot lane.
Action all right. Zodox trying to have his own fun
Yeah.
in the top lane, not quite catching Pandemonium there. Hot tamales. We've got a game on our hands.
We've got a
Holy
game.
dooly.
I'm just wondering if they wanted to fight. They should have all just gone to the dragon. Let's have a little bit of a skirmish here. They're having these little 2v2s in the bot lane, in the mid lane. We should be fighting over the objectives here. They should have dropped that Rift Herald mid, then look towards that dragon. It's a perfect distraction, right? Gives you enough time to get that vision control while that Rift Herald is sieging away in the mid lane. But they looked for the pig spot lane. They tried to keep him mid as well. Nothing comes of it, and eventually the low health bars end up favoring job seekers, and they're going to wrestle control of this dragon.
Quepro could make a play on this. Oh, just misses the timing for the vision there. Doesn't quite get enough time to potentially smite that off. Didn't have flash or anything like that. Probably secured safely by job seekers alliance there. We've got a bit of time on our hands before any other real objectives come up.
But
where are we looking to see the action from here?
I just want to see every objective from now on. Corona Spaceship has to be fighting this. You've already given away 2 dragons. As a scaling team, it's not crazy bad, but you obviously want to be scaling into the game and using those objectives as the win condition there for yourself. Right now, the Dragon Soul win condition isn't looking very likely.
Yeah.
It's looking like at least a 33-minute Dragon Soul for the side of Krona. So you really got to be looking towards at least denying the soul, but really playing around those barons once they spawn. Try to pick up the next Rift Herald. Try to get some towers knocked over, because Job Seekers is looking to do that to you if you're not careful. If we see the itemization on set here, Hull Breaker first item. If that... I'm sure they're looking for the team fight. Hold that thought, because Chris Strider dropping the mid. Hunt going for the play, but oh my god, more action. Bot lane. Killer Instinct gets hooked out by Shortmaster. Shortmaster protecting his AD carry so well here. Fevens doesn't have anything. Finally drops the dredge line. In tower range though, he has to be careful. His team have left him for dead here. They're not backing him up. The heal comes through. Block the bullet, Mr. President. Saves his support, but oh my god, what a turnaround there for Job Seekers bot lane, and it's not over. Quopro looking to get back into his own jungle, but the Trundle's there. They're dropping so much. Sergeant Crone looking for the tower dive bot. Oh no, he gets locked in now. Look, got him through. He's surviving. On fleek comes through. Gets the flash.
Yes.
He's coming. He's coming on the tower. He finally drops down. Stairboy peppering them with the auto attacks the entire time. Oh my god, that was such a long skirmish. Finally, we see some action. Lead to some kills.
Stairboy and Shortmaster put in so much work there. Absolutely whittling the enemy down, despite the lack of items on themselves compared to the Kaiser. They're literally an item down. Probably, yeah, taking a look there. Oh, they're not too far off in terms of the gold. Only 100 off in terms of actual spent. But dear me, putting in the work to get those kills there.
Yeah, and get the tower.
Oh
that's such an equalizing factor in terms of this gold. It's not going to balance it out completely, but yeah, it's finally some gold swung back in the way. Now, what they do have to be careful of is this really accelerated Victor, especially when Cristiano was roaming in those early game plays there. He's definitely down in a lot of experiences. Victor is a monster on the Rift right now. We saw what he could do to the Trundle, and he hasn't found himself in many team fights since that blue skirmish here, but trust me, this champion is holding a lot of power, and they need to play around it. If they continue to make plays bot side like that, then they're all fine and dandy, but as soon as the Victor enters the fray, if they're not bursting this dude down, he's going to be dropping so much damage on their heads.
Somehow Hunt walking through the river does miss the control ward that Job Seekers do have out in there. So Job Seekers definitely know what's going on. They do have the advantage here. Such a Crone looking potentially for Quopro. Lot of movement to the mid lane here.
Yeah, they're looking to start up an ARAM. No objectives available, so they're starting the ARAM, but it's just straight up misplay. We see Kaiser having free time on that tower, taking it there, and they've just bled resources they shouldn't have. They're probably looking for a play. This team has been looking pretty aggressive so far, but when you're just looking for stuff like that, there's no setup really. They have good vision control here, but there's no reason for them to play aggressive, so you shouldn't play like they're just going to go Rambo. But Quopro maybe overstepping, gets a little love tap from the death sentence, and off on his way there. But yeah.
Everyone really is feeling out here, just sort of feeling out the damage that they have pushed in Job Seekers lines through their mid tower, but no one seems too eager to actually push the issue and the status quo at the moment. It all seems to be farming up, pushing and waiting for the next objective to spawn on the map. Zonox seems to be pushed in despite the fact that he does have Hullbreaker. It's not doing him a lot of favors at this point since Pandemonium seems to be clearing the ways pretty quickly. Next Dragon coming up in 30 seconds. Probably going to be seeing the game accelerate very shortly. What do you reckon?
Honestly, I think this Victor's too much of a threat. I would like to split the map here. The Rift Herald is available. You just bait them into that false sense of security, right? You think, alright, the Dragon's important, we're going for Soul here, there's going to be a big team fight. But actually, if you split the map, you get the Urgot down there somehow with the teleport, you've got a Rift Herald and a Hullbreaker set. You can absolutely shred down the top side. But we see a pick here! The Thievens picking off Shortmaster there with his own hook. And Chris Strider looking for something, doesn't quite find the charm, but yeah, they've got nothing to find there. They've really lost that a key part of their engage with Shortmaster being that hook champion, and they're just going to pick up this Dragon for free, but they're doing what I said. They're at least looking for this Rift Herald, looking for this Urgot right now. You've got some stuff to trade on the other side of the map. Chris Strider going for the one shot onto Hunt, and he finds it straight away. Chris Strider at a beautiful item power spike, level 11, Ignite available, drops him dead. That is such a key pick for Chris Strider and gets him well back into this game here after falling a little bit behind.
Beating me to the punch there. I was about to point out Corona Spaceship's vision in the bot side here for that Dragon. They definitely earned that one there, securing a lot of the vision. If we take a look at Red side, focusing on that one, they have little to no vision at all. They don't know where anyone is coming from, and that is why Shortmaster did get caught out there, and they are Corona Spaceship looking for another pick here.
Yeah, they're grouping up around this Herald. The Victor is back alive. He's still quite strong. He's looking for a flank angle. We might see a team fight at this Herald here. They want to fight for it, but Hunt's caught again. A chum off the side. He's getting Kalen ulted. He's got to be out of this fight right now, but around the Herald, Sergeant Crone picks it up with the smite there. Quopro falling so low. Pandemonium finds the fear beyond death, or whatever it's called. There's so much going on in this
Into the meat grinder.
Into the meat grinder, but the Kai'Sa damage, the consistency over that fight, it was so split. She was whittling them around the entire fight. Still has Killer's Instinct available, and yeah, just tore down the front line that has been pretty far behind here. The set with the Hullbreaker isn't exactly your best frontliner in the team fight, and Sergeant Crane, we've seen struggling a bit in this early game, isn't enough to take this Kai'Sa that has just been silently scaling.
As you mentioned, really, finding a perfect pick there on fleek. Stairboy, nothing in the pot, half a health bar at best, just not where he needs to be. Needed to concede this tower. As you mentioned, Zonox with this set really not benefiting from this Hullbreaker at all. It is really not getting them any sort of lead or push that they would like to see from it. They have got the tower top broken down and pushing into the second tower, but there is just no pressure at this point that we really need to be seeing from this kind of strategy that they're pulling out here, and it could be costing them the game soon if things don't change.
Yeah, right now the gold lead has ballooned to 4,000 here. It's quite big. We're seeing a TP straight away onto Shortmaster, but the team's not quite there yet. They're looking for the counterplay. Nice hook onto Kai'Sa, but he is left alone, and into the meat grinder he goes. And yeah, look at this unit. Corona Spaceship playing so coordinated this game, doing so well versus Job Seeker's coordination as well. Unfortunately, they just have the stat check as well as the coordination here to just beat you out in these skirmishes at this point. Nice charm onto the jungler there, but it's not going to lead to much. They're burning this Baron down so quickly here. We're seeing them try to contest. Sergeant Crone looking for a play, and Zonox into the middle there with the...
Oh dear.
Doesn't even get the W off. The damage is absolutely insane out of the scaling composition. I gave you guys a little bit of an idea. I said by level 11, you're probably going to see them start to outscale this really early game composition, but it's well and truly beyond level 11, and with the extra kills they've picked up, it's just so much. Yeah, well, surely Job Seeker going to need some pills after this, because they are in pain right now. Hunt is just bringing so much damage, on fleek bringing so much damage, and they've just got so many meatballs to work through, and you're not seeing the damage come out of champions like Ahri and Caitlyn.
Definitely not enough to at least be smashing through the tank that Sejuani has whilst her passive is up. If you don't know, she does have an extra, I believe it's 100 armor
Yeah,
before her passive is broken there. It is certainly nothing to sneeze at, and they are really struggling to actually push through that. Nautilus, no joke either. Urgot coming up into the mid engage. It's really not looking good for Jobseeker's Alliance engage potential here. Zonox trying to find an opening, but doesn't even get the haymaker off to survive after the engage. I'm really struggling to see how they can actually find an opening here to bring this game back. It's looking very doomed at this point.
Yeah, and that was the main issue I saw with the compositions. Normally versus these hard scaling teams that want to play front to back, stuff like that, if you want to cheese them or beat them out, you have to have those options to find it. Basically, all you have is a magical threshold landing or a godlike charm coming in from Chris Strider. Otherwise, you're never going to blow up Hunt. You're never going to blow up Unfleet. There's going to be so many tanks that just bodyguarding them the whole fight, and they just have the champions to outdamage yours, unfortunately. And yeah, we've got to see some miracle plays. We saw Zonox try. He found a beautiful.
Nearly fine Stairboy there with the dredge line.
Yeah, and Stairboy's frontlining for his team here. Silent Crone finally arrives to the scene here. He's just going for the dragon, but he's left alone here. His team's not there. He gets dropped down, and look how much health he had when he got sent into the meat grinder. He just ulted too little, too late there. My lord, and
oh dear.
And we're seeing stuff like that. Chris Strider just landed a 4-man queue, and it's just tickled the likes of Corona Spaceship here. They're just too far ahead with this composition. And
It's
Pandemonium,
a hashtag feels bad, man. Oh,
Pandemonium
dear.
caught out. They're looking to pick up the scraps. His team's coming back to save him. Zonox coming through with the set slam. They're picking him down. Zonox wants more. They want to push this one, but I don't think it's what they're looking for here. Cobro tanking up. Viven's tanking up, and look at the carriers just completely healthy.
No.
Kaiser still
Bit of
has
far more than they could chew. This is definitely not what they needed.
Oh, Hunt wants to make a play here, flashing in on Stairboy, going in with the phase rush. He's trying to heal out, trying to flash out, but doesn't get anything there. Hunt really on the hunt there, but doesn't quite pick anything up for himself.
Thankfully, Sergeant Crone was there to peel him out, save him from himself. This is definitely looking like a reset from Corona Spaceship here, but they'll certainly be having their eyes, their lips, their mouths juicy, watering, looking at that Baron. It looks like they want to take it very shortly, I'm sure.
Yeah, they've done a really great job this game, but I do like to still look for improvements. Now, I like to find a balance between greed and like caution when you're playing the game. I believe the side of Corona Spaceship, they've been a little too cautious around this Baron here. They had basically numbers advantage. It was a 5 versus 3 there. The jungler was on the board, but they really could have pushed for that Baron instead of resetting here. But they're playing it slow, playing it steady. Obviously, they don't need the Baron right now. They can finish this objective whenever they want, but you like to see a bit of greed out of the top tier teams. They push for all the advantages they can get, and they snowball really effectively, but you can see their mentality with the composition they're running. They don't really have to push the envelope here. Finally, we're seeing
lots of respect coming out. Lots of respect. Not trying to force anything beyond their means.
Yep, and we might see one steal attempt from Sergeant Crone. He has his flash available, but that's dropping super low. He doesn't have any vision at all, and unfortunately, it's just going to go down unless Miracle steal otherwise from the Caitlyn, but it is not to be here, and Jobseeker's just looking to just find something here. They got to fortify their position, probably get some deep wards in, and I'd say the only hope you have of defending this is finding those picks. So now, while they're resetting, which they probably shouldn't have, again, a pretty cautious reset there from them. They go back, they spend the money, they're going to group up again, but they've lost a lot of time off this Baron. You see the waves right now pushing back towards them when they could have just headed straight for the lanes here. They're playing it super cautious. They don't want to throw this one. They realize how much is riding on the standings after this match. But yeah.
Absolutely there. A lot of respect coming. I really don't think Pandemonium coming off that wave actually there with the Trundle was the correct play. I think sticking around, having him juiced up, not necessarily pushing it himself But just having the minions do the work there really would have kept the pressure on the map so that now we can see the mid lane and the bottom lane are starting to push in. Would have given them a little bit more room. Potentially, they could have done a 1-3-1 here. And it's what we're seeing now, but maybe the Urgots get solid time with this turret. Maybe that's what they were after from the start.
Yeah, they're doing the 1-3-1 strategy, but when your Urgot's this far out, there's actually an opportunity for an opening here in the mid lane. If you find your way onto this Kai'Sa, she's just got meatballs around her. If you actually manage to burst her down, there's a real
Sergeant
opportunity.
Crow might see this.
Yeah, he's looking for an angle. They have to look for something here because they're just slowly getting whittled down from all sides.
Everyone is looking for an opening. Boy looks desperate. Chris Strider looks like they're fishing for something. Everyone is trying to find the opening that brings them back into this game. 2 dragons are pop. It's only the kills and the towers that are bringing this down.
And yeah, look at that. They're just run all over the map. They've lost their bot lane. They've now lost their mid lane. They're about to lose their top lane if Pandemonium has something to say about it. And yeah, now you've got no more towers. They're looking bot lane, but they can't find anything. Shortmaster's threatening something here, but he has to be careful of just getting turned on here.
So much desperation.
And look, they're finally calling it. They're calling it onto Hunt here. Hunt is very tanky with his build right now. He has that completed Banshees, and Chris Strider has no damage against that. Sergeant Crone has the Sejuani resistances, but unfortunately, my friend, you're just too far behind in gold. And yeah,
Bro says that tickles. Oh my! As you called out from the start of the game, the tankiness of Corona Spaceship is just absolutely outscaling the damage that Jobseeker's Alliance is able to put out, and it's really not looking good at this point. I don't know, Chief. This one may be over very shortly.
yeah, they've got their 3rd Ocean Soul of the game, so if you aren't finishing off these kills too, they're probably going to be back in the fight after a moment's respite there. It's looking really difficult for this side of Jobseekers, and yeah, this is basically where draft matters. If you're looking to play these sort of Dragon Skirmish team compositions, you can't really be picking champions like Ahri, champions like Caitlyn, because these champions are more... Caitlyn's more about that lane dominance. You really got to build a lead before the game begins, sort of. Ahri's more about those roaming plays. You got to like try and find those picks, and then you don't want to be having fights at the dragon. You just want to be picking them and then getting free dragons. But these champions... And
you can see there that, yeah, Caitlyn is built against what seems to be picking off squishy players with the Gale Force, and it really just doesn't suit what they're playing into. They have 3 chunky boys on Corona Spaceship's side, and you're seeing On Fleek doing a ton of damage with the Tax Collector and Kraken Slayer within her build, and it is just showing the difference in builds here and the damage effective because of that.
Yeah, even something like the Ludens, which is fine on the Ahri, you might be looking towards that Liandry's or even the Everfrost. Just lock down the target so your Trundle and your set can start beating him down, right? They've got damage on these bruises, but they just can't live long enough. They're just in jeopardous positions versus the Kai'Sa and the Victor all the time. So you got to find angles, and a beautiful hook onto Starboy. Fevens finds it, but look at the turnaround. They're doing pretty well. All 5 members under the tower here for Corona Spaceship, but unfortunately the carries are just surviving so long. The chump comes through. Chris trying to find his way out, but that was a 4v5. Now that I just look at it.
Nom, into the meat grinder. One more time. Pandemonium. Yeah. Holy dooly. Fevens finding the engage that snowballs the entire fight, and it is game over from there. What a game! What a clinic! You called it out, but they definitely showed us how to execute it, and oh dear, what a game.
Yeah, that was pretty entertaining at the start. We got to see these 2 teams interact in the early game from traditionally both of them very active, very aggressive in that early game there, and it was going pretty evenly, but then the draft really ended up mattering once we got towards those later dragon fights and that blue buff skirmish. Yeah, we saw the strengths of the champions come out here. Jobseeker's not exactly playing to their strengths. Corona Spaceship playing it perfectly there. Well, not exactly perfectly, but it's just about as close as you'd want it. come through and pick up that win there. And yeah, pretty clinical. Corona Spaceship, after that blue buff skirmish, they felt pretty comfortable running over that game.
Just absolutely executing on their team comp there. They didn't push for the Dragons early. They didn't try to push over what their composition was capable of early. They realized or understood that within their limitations, they had to farm up, send Quepra into the jungle. Don't worry about ganking too much too early. And although Jobseekers Alliance did pick up the two first dragons there, Corona Spaceship really just ran away with the game from, I think it was probably soon after the 10 to 14-minute mark. They're really just escalating with their lead. As you called out from the very start of Champion Select, they're just absolutely running away with the scaling.
Yeah, the scaling matters a lot if these games go a bit unchecked. You know, there was a little bit of aggression in the early game, but unfortunately, you really got to push the envelope versus teams like this. If you give them any sort of kill lead or stuff like that, then you're really in trouble because this Victor, absolutely, if you look at the stats chart, just went ballistic with that gold lead he was given there, and Chris Strutter only made it worse. He looked for plays around the map. He found little plays here and there, but unfortunately that Victor was just sitting in lane, happy, chappy, farming tower plays, farming minions, scaling up into that monster that he ended up being in those late game team fights, and he just drops like a ridiculous amount of damage that unfortunately they just couldn't tank up. We saw the tanks for Jobseekers just not being able to keep up with that Victor's output.
Absolutely.
So
I think that, yeah, I think it was lost to a lot of the macro there. There was a lot of fighting across the map, but none of it seemed too incredibly impactful in terms of the movement. And I think, yeah, as you mentioned there, getting a lot of the solo time, the sweet juicy candlelit dinner with the tower for Unfleet really escalated the situation.
yeah, well, I guess now we just move on to that MVP SVP discussion here. Let's start off with the SVPs. Let's try to look at the positives of Jobseekers this game, because it was looking pretty negative for that latter half, but we did see some pretty exciting stuff early on. What are your thoughts on the SVPs?
I feel like there was a lot of effort across the board here to really try and fish it back. Shortmaster was finding a lot of hooks there in desperate situations.
Yeah,
I think Chris Strider was constantly fishing for a comeback. He was really trying to find aggressive engages, especially we saw about the 20-minute, 25-minute mark there, deep into the engage zone to try and find the kills. Um, Oh, it's so tough to call. Do you have anyone in the spotlight for yourself?
I think you're crazy if you're giving it to anyone else except this bot lane here. We look at the Thresh's scoreline. It's not too impressive, but we did see in that early game, the reason that Caitlyn is basically not feeding her mind out is because of that Thresh. A lot of the ganks went towards that bot lane early. Thresh had such an impact keeping that AD carry alive, keeping her safe, finding the hooks, dropping the lanterns, keeping Caitlyn in a position where she's still able to be relevant in this game, and we see that reflected by the damage here. 17k is actually more than OnFleek dropped, and we see OnFleek's scoreline. He's rich out of his mind, and Caitlyn's actually kept up with him here. But I think it depends what you value more. I think early game, definitely the Thresh was the MVP, but later on, Stairboy, we saw Stairboy walking up, frontlining for his team. Sonox and Sergeant Crane had lost confidence, or they were just too afraid of this Victor. Stairboy was walking in, dodging hooks, dodging lasers, really trying to push the envelope for his team. I think at that point, yeah, he was really doing crazy things in those later game team fights, but early game, Thresh had a bigger impact. So I don't know. For me, I think just seeing the cojones on Stairboy walking up in those late game dragon fights, still trying to fight for his team, still trying to fight something. I'm
That's a great
to give
call
it to
out.
him.
That's a great call out. Yeah, you know what? I have to agree with you there. Stairboy did look like a blue collared worker out in the field, trying to make the most of a terrible situation. I do remember, I think it was the third dragon fight. He was, as you mentioned, at the front of his team, trying to fish for the damage, fish for the engage, trying to make something happen out of everything. And Yeah,
And
that's a
it's
pretty
a
worthy
fine line.
SVP.
It's a fine line to play because he looks like a hero now, just frontlining and not getting caught. But if that hook had been a couple inches closer, he looks like the biggest idiot on his team. So I'm willing to give it to that player that's dancing on that fine line. Stairboy, I think, picks up for the SVP for this one. But the MVP, to me, I think it's pretty clear cut. On Fleek did an amazing job, but Hunt really coming through for his debut mid lane game, I imagine, and dropping just almost 30k damage on this Victor. What are your thoughts?
I think the both of them absolutely went to work on this game here. It's really, I mean, if we take a look at the damage graph, oh my lord. Hunt has absolutely put in the hours, put in the work, absolutely smacking down the front gates of Jobseekers Alliance. There wasn't an opportunity at all for them to come back. He's definitely used, just the burn, the Leander's anguish. Oh, it's the
Yeah,
damage graph speaks for itself. I can't even put it into words how much he's actually impacted this game here. On Fleek, definitely would have picked up the rest of it there, but I think on Hunt's just put in so much work. It's hard to put it into words for myself.
yeah, honestly did no wrong, but Hunt just saw no evil or something here. He literally just absolutely tore the side of Jobseekers to shreds. Obviously, going into seasoned mid laners like Chris Strato, you put the benefit against them. I'd say Onfleek's probably one of the more skilled players in the tournament. He seems pretty comfortable every matchup he goes into. But Hunt, just on his debut game, dropping just 30k damage on this Victor, pretty much. That's a star-worthy performance for me, MVP for sure.
Well earned indeed.
Well earned. Well, guys, we don't have too much time before this next, so I'm going to cut to a quick intermission. We're going to get set up for this next game here, and make sure you guys are still talking in chat. I'm seeing some people, not as much action as I'd like though, and we still have that giveaway up for grabs later on in the stream, so make sure we are still talking in this chat so you have a shot at that. So yeah, guys, don't go anywhere. We'll be back very soon for the next match, which is Team Destiny versus Team for Fun. Don't go anywhere, guys. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I am back here. Bladix say I should be joined by my co-caster here. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hello everybody, this is Jackson. Katie is Woodward sitting on the desk with Bladexa. We're about to hop into NTEL Round 5 Game 2, and I couldn't be more excited.
Yep, we are about to hop into this Champions League when the captains have given us the go-ahead. But yeah, Jackson, why don't you just tell us where you've been, what you've been doing? You've been casting some other stuff recently, eh?
Yeah, well, we had a big weekend, Geek Fest, obviously. I was at the desk with QuoPro for that. It was a lot of fun. It was a great opportunity. Definitely would do that kind of thing again. And I mean, I understand you were at the event as well. You were picking up the W's in some other games as well. So I hope you had a good time.
Yeah, that is neither here nor there. I do compete in other stuff, but tonight is all about the League of Legends here. We've got Team 4 Fun versus Team Destiny. And yeah, we'll see how this matchup goes. It is basically a David versus Goliath if you look at the standings, but Team for Fun have been impressing me here and there with their drafts. I'm excited to see what they've brought to the table versus Destiny, but they are missing a key player in the way of that mid laner. Corruption, unfortunately, isn't able to make tonight's match. They have a sub in. We'll see whether they're still able to stay afloat without their key mid laner here.
Yeah, bans left and right. So far, we've got Viego, Samira, Lulu, and Camille taken off the board.
Yeah,
it does appear that Destiny showing a little bit of fear for Lulu.
Doesn't surprise me at all. Lulu has been not getting touched by that nerf hammer. Right, keeps looking the other way. She's basically dominating the support category right now. Just
absolutely.
And
pairings. Not the support.
Yeah, the pairings with champions like Kog'Maw are absolutely disgusting that you just can't let through. It's too much to deal with. Safest thing is just to take it away. And
Orianna getting taken away, one of DST Guard's more well-known champions. He definitely pulled out on numerous occasions, especially last season in the 2020 season.
Yeah, DST Guard has always favored those control mages, but since they've kind of fallen out of meta, we've seen him deliver some performances on champions like that. Akali had a monster performance, I believe, versus Katarina Gentleman or Corona Spaceship. Can't remember which team. Both CG, CS, too hard to remember on my brain. We'll see what the first pick is for Team for Fun here, because I'm excited to see how the draft goes with that Corruption, because he's normally picking up that last pick here for the draft, but looks like
Mundo going to be the first lock-in. How do you feel about Mundo as a blind pick,
I think it is okay, but it's still pretty risky. There's a lot of champions in the game with inbuilt Grievous that you can just slide into that top lane. For example, if you drop someone like the Kled into that top lane, it's a pretty bad matchup. You don't have to worry about the pullback for the Mundo, but Kled just doesn't let you lane pretty easily. He just dives in on you. He's just got way more damage than Mundo does early game, and he's just bringing the fight to you. It's a pretty difficult matchup, and of course, Grievous wounds just inbuilt into your kit means you get to ignore items like Executionist and just go straight for your core, and you're doing really well. But looks like they're going a different direction.
Ash, Yorick going to get locked in. So we do have Yorick into the Mundo in the top lane. Mundo potentially a flex pick down to that jungle category.
Yeah, it's a potential flex. I've never seen Asuko's jungle, but I've seen other people's Yorick jungle. It's absolutely disgusting, the farm numbers you can put up. A lot of people hear it, and they're just like, that is absolutely troll, right? But trust me, once you've experienced a high elo jungle Yorick one trick, they literally just kill camps on spawn, and that's just not their own camps. That's enemy camps.
Like, I think his name's Ninetales or something? He's like a challenger, like OC Yorick jungle player.
Dude, I don't want to know his name, otherwise he's going on the dodge list, because, yeah,
Morgana getting locked in here. Great answer to the Leona lock-in right away.
We've seen, you're very vocal about the Morgana pick. You're convinced it's a strong pick, and I agree. Into Leona does shut down a lot of that engage, but when you're pairing it with something like Ashe, it's not as aggressive. Even though Leona can't really lock you down here, Tristana still brings a lot more early game than that Ashe, so it's interesting to see how that bot lane goes. I'd still say it's even at worst, but
I think Morgana is not she's not like a great champ overall, not someone that I would blind pick at the moment, but in terms of counter picks, she's very, very strong when picked into the Leonas, the Nautiluses, etc. But there are a lot of champions that can do well into Leona, just a lot of champions that are able to kind of disjoint Zenith Blade and keep their carries nice and safe.
Yeah, it doesn't even seem like a big skill check too, just pressing Magic Shield, but sometimes it can be pretty confusing when your carry and your support are standing right next to each other. Leona has that choice of going on whoever she wants there, so got to be careful with your positioning. It's not clear cut that bot lane by any means, and I'm expecting to see some action in the bot lane because DST bot lane, even though we don't have Prodigium tonight, it's always exciting to watch. I think they play so aggressively, no matter the matchup. So I'm expecting to see it bring the action bot lane, and we're seeing
Destiny
yeah.
seems to be showing a lot of respect towards the mid lane of Team 4 Fun.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I haven't seen a Kiana all tournament. It's definitely a champion that terrorizes solo queue, but in competitive play, we haven't seen it as much. And I would be excited to see it here, but it looks like it's taken off the board. We've seen plenty of Diana, though. Can't be blamed for them taking that away. And yeah, it looks like they were lacking a bit of magic damage in their composition. They want to keep their mid lane pool open here, so they're going to lock in that Echo. So pretty good.
Yeah, Echo, one of ACST's more kind of well-known champs, can also be flexed around into the mid lane, like we said.
Yep. And
along with the Yorick.
The question is, what is the blind pick in the mid lane? And we're seeing a Nico, and I can only imagine that is going into the mid lane there rather than the jungle. So Nico mid lane, I think we've seen one other player. It was Dark Knight who brought it out versus Purple Cobras, and he absolutely stomps in any mid, but I think the skill disparity, the skill disparity was there, but right now you're up against one of the best mid laners in the tournament, which is DSD Guard.
I think Nico just has that like kind of X factor explosiveness where she might not be a great champion overall, but you can just land some crazy pop blossom in the middle of a fight and can just completely win your team the game. So very exciting to see it on the board. Does add a lot of interesting game dynamics. So we'll see how that ends up going, but Lissandra is going to be the pick to counter it.
They've got so much lockdown on the side of this DSC side. You've got the Ashe, you've got the Dark Binding, you've got Lissandra now, and they've got not too much to follow it up, but obviously in that early game, it's more about that numbers advantage than the actual damage numbers. But later on, do you think they even have enough to burn through this Mundo if it accelerates that far ahead?
I was about to say, this is a Mundo first pick, blind pick, and it seems to be a great comp to use that like immunity to hard CC passive on him into.
It is pretty strong into this composition. We'll see how well Jimbo Baggins is going to do in the laning phase to inhibit this Mundo, because I believe he still has a positive matchup there. But if this Mundo starts scaling into the team fights here, I don't know how they're going to lock this Mundo down. He's going to be going where he pleases.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting to me how we seem to have such a good Mundo comp that was kind of drafted around a first pick Mundo. So interested to see how that one goes. We obviously have the extraordinary aggression out of the Xin Zhao jungle lock-in is going to be able to get on top of those immobile Lissandra, Yorick, Ashe lanes very, very well. Level 1, level 2, level 3, very scary potentials there. As well as that in the mid lane, I'm not too sure how Lissandra and Nico go. I assume they both just kind of sit there and wave clear and then lock the other opposing laner down when their jungler comes. But as for the bot lane, I think it's definitely going to be a bit of a skill matchup between Morgana and Leona, and especially Tristan Ashe. Ashe winning in the kind of poke frontier, but Tristana having a much superior all-in. So I'm interested to see. Definitely a lot of interesting matchups.
Yeah, a lot to break down, but first we've got to get our sponsor shout-outs out the way here. Let's hop over to the major sponsors of the season. Of course, none other than the Territory's own Paul's Iced Coffee, doing so well, so solid, helping us every moment of the day, from just when you wake up in the morning, get you to work, or whether you're just trying to power through this stream right now. Just Paul's Iced Coffee, always there for you, giving you that caffeine kick. And Northern Territory government backing just so many recreational activities in the Northern Territory. They helped back Geekfest as we were both there. Such a good event, but also helping back this event. And let's be honest, this is the best event. Come on, next year esports, guys. Show your support in the chat. And of course, McDonald's Darwin. Not to be, it's McDonald's. You don't need to go on about McDonald's achievements here. McDonald's Darwin, of course, being most of the branches in Darwin, helping support the scene as well. Big thank yous to them. Now, the minor sponsors, we are going to run through Serotonic Beauty, Next Year Entertainment, VR Gamers, Game & Creations, Tracy Village Social and Sports Club, Howard Springs Tavern, The Rabbit Hole, Palace of India, Fresh Point Cafe, John John's, Diamond Barbers, District North Kitchen, Wicked Energy, Joyce Main, Next Level Gym, and Bell Accounting. All these minor sponsors also supporting us. We're supporting them. Share the support, guys. And back into Champion Select, as we got about 50 seconds left. We got to talk a little bit more. So how about we just go about general team predictions? If we're not putting nameplates on the team, Which team do you think has the better draft?
I mean, that's a tricky one. It depends. I think in terms of kind of early to mid game, yeah, it depends. I don't know. There's a lot of catch potential on the side of Destiny here. They're definitely able to make picks. But in terms of like 5v5, I think, big Pop Blossom, big Solar Flare, Tristana getting that AoE damage with the Bomb Satchel, just so much potential for fun to explode. But again, I mean, in terms of nameplates, it's hard to talk about comps when Destiny are just such a dominant team this season. So we're really going to be looking at kind of just player gaps here more so than champions in a lot of these lanes. It's going to be hard to predict for sure.
Yeah, of course, Destiny being... apart from that first week, they're undefeated up to this point. For fun, has been struggling to find their footing. They've looked really good in some games, but just struggled to get over that finish line. And I don't think Destiny games, you even start thinking about the finish line. You got to get over the starting line a lot of the time versus a team like Destiny. They bring the action to you. They bring it early. They try and just gap you so early on into the game with their laning, with their mechanics, with their rotations. They have won a lot of games by 10 minutes, so we're going to see if For Fun can withstand that, and that's usually when you have a game on your hands. If you can bring the game to Destiny and you're past that 10-15 minute point, the gold's even, then you're doing pretty well. You're doing better than most teams versus Destiny, that's for sure. So
absolutely. It does look like Morgana went for a little bit more of an aggressive setup here. Went for the Comet instead of something like Guardian, which is also seen very frequently. Or the Summon Airy as well. Comet definitely her most aggressive option. I'm not sure how I feel about Comet on Morgana, because you're going to be proccing it with your W more often than not, and most good players will be able to just walk out of the Comet because W doesn't slow, I believe. It might, maybe.
No, it doesn't slow, but a lot of the time your champions, especially champions like Tristana, that have like built-in mobility straight away, they really nerf the movement speed. So I think early on it's really effective versus champions like Tristana. I think you just have to beeline a straight direction, otherwise it's going to hit you, or you just have to magically juke the AI or whatever. But it's pretty good in the early game. It does start to fall off, and you probably want
Ash going for the Conqueror instead of the Lethal Tempo, which is another interesting one.
That is extremely interesting. They're looking to just drag it out to all-ins, or maybe looking for that team fight advantage. You'd think most of the time Lethal Tempo is probably going to give you an edge in lane. It depends how you utilize it in those team fights. Lethal Tempo generally is the much better choice, but I suppose if you're going to be beating on a Mundo...
That's fair as well. Yeah. But she's just very good at proccing it usually, because you hit the W or you hit the R like just before the team fight's about to break out. Lethal Tempo procs, and you can run in. You just have a massive attack speed advantage, and due to the nature of how Ashe works with kind of having that on-hit crit factor, Lethal Tempo helping you proc that as many times as possible is going to do tons of damage. But, Conqueror is still a good rune. Maybe does actually beat it out before you get those crit items online in terms of an all-in. So maybe really expecting this kind of Tristana and Leona all-in lane and wanting a little bit more.
Speaking of all-ins, look at what's going on the map. Yorick isn't here, and we've got a 4v5 into the side of For Fun here. Well, are Destiny going to get found out? Are they going to face check this? They have to be really careful. DSD Guard walking in.
DSD Guard is about to maybe get caught out here. The damage is there. The CC is locked down. First Blood going over to Xin Zhao. Aceco is going to be next, perhaps. Pops the Ignite. The flash follows. Kel'Thas landing the Cleaver. Guys, Sebastian's Ignite. Now Galaxy Cat and Kel'Thas are chasing after Admona. The Ignite is dropped once again, and that's going to be a clean 3 kills going over to For Fun.
Alright, Destiny, we've never seen you this far behind, especially this early on. What are they going to do to counteract the 3 kills they just gifted For Fun in the early game? And you gotta wonder, what are they doing? They're not dropping wards into bushes. They've dropped all their wards down there, but they still insisted on face checking. And the part I find most interesting is Yorick wasn't even committed to the play at all. Yorick was just in lane kingdom right here. We see at least he's got a teleport out of the Mundo here, but in terms of helping out his team in that invade there, he did not care.
Mundo picking up the double control ward off the recall.
Yeah, if you have the, he's got the refillable as well, so you got a nice little compliment there. But oh my god, like look at the damage you're suffering on this side of mid. I'd say in this mid lane matchup, it definitely favors the Nico early. Once you start unlocking those level 6s, you have plenty of counterplay around the Nico combo. You can ult yourself. Oh my god, Simdini getting caught out.
Definitely getting a little bit too greedy there. Maybe looking to catch Asko out in his jungle while he doesn't have that flash available, but forced to back off.
Yeah, ends up burning his own. Still, I like the play. He's trying to accelerate this lead, and you got to do that with DC. If things kind of balance out, they start picking up farm advantages and stuff.
Hold on, looks like he's hopping onto Jimbo Baggins here. Jimbo Baggins forced to flash away immediately, scared of getting knocked up with the Kel'Thalas Mundo. Not far behind.
These invades are just completely unwarranted. People just walking into jungle just for fun, if you will. But yeah, they're getting their flashes burned left and right. I just want to make sure we're synced up if any more action does happen, because that was such a lightning fast start.
304, 305,
oh,
306.
I'm a bit ahead of you. I'll balance that out by pausing for a couple seconds. And we should be synced up now. So I'm at 313, 314.
Yes, perfect. Oh, but here we go. Leona and Tristana jumping in. This is going to be lights out for Ardmona. Doesn't have the flash or the heal available. Are they going to follow up on Kiratine? No, they're not. They're going to take their golden back off. Asko, no flash.
Asko.
And there we go. Simpdini finds himself a solo kill on Asko. He gets caught lacking with no flash on his Raptor camp.
DST guard copping a beating. DST are getting gapped in this early game, and it's not entirely that fault. An invade is just basically a team gap. You've made the wrong call in the early game, but right now they're accelerating this lead so well across the lanes of For Fun here versus one of the best teams we have in NT Sports.
Galaxy Cat, does he have the damage?
Oh, he doesn't have the third auto. Just
one more auto attack would do it. If he had the flash available there, that would have for sure been a solo kill.
Yeah, DST guard struggling in this early game. Like I said, the matchup is pretty hard. If you're landing these consistent snares like Galaxy Cat is lights out for that Lissandra. Jimbo Baggins is so far behind now. Well, he's got a big wave to farm, but yeah, the resources he bled off going for that invade really hurt him. Asuko's level 3.
Was forced to teleport just there, which is worth noting. So she's not going to have TP up at level 6 to make any kind of plays in around the map.
Yeah, and I want to just touch on that bot lane there. I believe it was level 2, and I believe Morgana had not skilled her spell shield there. So if you're going to make plays, definitely that early. And Kel'Thalas tanked a little bit too early.
Kel'Thalas, unfortunately does go down the Yorick wall, keeping him nice and caged up. But they do secure themselves a solo kill on Jimbo Baggins. He's likely going to be forced to TP. Yes, he is. But here we go. Vyacinth going in. There's the spell shield we were talking about, completely denying the engage. And now they are returning fire onto Greedo here.
Yeah,
trying
honestly,
to do as much as possible.
I think Leona's W early game into a champion like Ashe, she's getting tickled there, but they're looking for the play here. Greedo has rocket jump.
The root is there, but no follow-up. Unfortunately, a bit of a hit and a miss roam from DST guard.
Yeah, we're seeing Destiny try and find their ways back into this game down already a pretty tremendous amount. They got to use their teamwork and their early game macro to try and get something back. They're going towards that dragon here, but Nico is... she's level 4 on the side, but I believe she's probably around level 6 right now. She's hovering that Zinzao, but she's level 5, not quite level 6.
Oh my goodness, that Nico damage one-shotting Asko, and they are able to get him off the Infernal Dragon and are looking to claim it for themselves.
Now, DST, a team from ahead, absolutely terrifying. A team from behind, though, they don't seem to recognize the goal discrepancy, and they still continue to make plays they would as if they were ahead. And we're seeing that here. They just go for the dragon. There's no real lane priority. Nico had plenty of time to rotate. Zinzao was caught on a reset, but you had to think with the lane's position, bot lane wasn't there. It was at... Yeah, we saw what exactly happened. The Nico rotated over and picked off that really far behind Echo, and now we're looking at him. He's just picking up scraps in his inventory there. We're seeing the Zinzao 3-0 with the Dirk already. He's going to be blowing people up with his build. What are your thoughts on Zinzao builds currently?
Zinzao builds? I think it's definitely close between Eclipse and Gordrinka, depending on the comp. I would say into that composition specifically, they're all kind of a little bit on the tankier side. Gordrinka might be a little bit better, but I mean, he is very, very fed, so I can't fault him for going for the lethality build. Both are good.
Yeah, I think, honestly, into this sort of game where you're snowballing really hard into their composition, going for the picks onto that Echo, if he's unable to drop his ult really on, I think the lethality build really shines. Normally you'd go for the Gordrinka into these sort of things, but honestly, you've got the Mundo on your team. Do you need more frontline? You've got Leona as well. You just need someone bring that damage, bring the picks, and I'm sure it'll do really well.
Yeah, I am fairly interested in this top lane though, as we do have Kel'Thalas getting collapsed on 1v2. He did have the passive available there to eat up the Echo stun, but still flashed anyway. Maybe
Yeah.
a little bit of a panic flash.
Yeah, was probably afraid of the Yorick W more, like, because that is a much more threatening ability. You can go where you please, but unfortunately, if you've got walls all around you, you can't really go where you please anymore. Yeah, that ability from Yorick really does inhibit Mundo in this matchup, but still, I think he was fine there without burning the flash. But we've kind of slowed down here. There's 7 kills on the side of For Fun. Then suddenly we've just come to a halt here. Lots of farming between these two teams. I still want to see this Xin Zhao, especially if he's going lethality, continue to bully this Echo, because just look at the discrepancy between the two. 50 farm almost to the 2. 0 and 3 to 3 and 0. This jungle should be the Xin Zhao's. You should be fighting for lane priority, fighting for that Echo's jungle at this point, because you've got such a lead.
Absolutely, and when you have priority in basically your entire bot side of the map, and you are this ahead of Echo, I really do want to see Xin Zhao kind of just start verticaling bot side. You do kind of have that weak side Mundo, who's just kind of, sitting there, pretty hard to kill, but also unlikely to get any kind of solo kill on Yorick himself.
They see the spot lane play, they have a ward, but looks like they go for it.
Wide, but here we go, Yacinth going in. Aceco is going to be there, though. It's going to be a 3v3. Kiratine is going to be the first to go down. Yacinth forced to back off, waiting for cooldowns potentially, and the flash comes out from Ardmona to get him out to safety.
And DST saw this play. Look at that ward in the bot side there. He was sitting on it. He was just squatting on that ward. They knew it was coming, and they still get caught with their pants down there. They try to make the play, and they just lose to the gold gap that is in For Fun's wallets right now. They just can't do much. Jimbo Baggins.
Maximum dosage forced out of Mundo in the top lane already. Just in a little bit of a... under his own tower as well. He landed the cage. Are we going to see a repeat performance?
Oh, he's
lands
dropping
the cage,
really
lands
low.
the E. Oh my goodness, that's almost his entire health bar. Yorick, so oppressive at these points of the game until Mundo is able to get those kind of item break points. But, when you are a tank, Maiden is a very oppressive ability, I feel.
Yeah, and we saw exactly just how annoying that cage is for the Mundo. Just has to sit there autoing it, just pitifully. He doesn't have his E available, can't even auto reset to kill it a bit quicker there. So it's a very scary ability for that Mundo. Yorick with that Maiden available, even though you're a Mundo, he actually shreds in the 1v1s there. So you got to be very careful. But if he's able to hold the fort, I'm imagining like his team behind is very far behind.
Here we go, though. That is going to be the Frozen Tomb coming out from Lissandra. And that is kind of the Lissandra factor right there. You might be losing lane fairly hard, kind of struggling a little bit, but you just have to land one nice little pick with your point-and-click ultimate, and you just turn things around.
Yeah, and the Morgana being there just reduces any fact of counterplay that Nico had. I believe she saw him on vision just as she went in. Pretty unfortunate timing. Looked for a play, but yeah, even versus that Lissandra there, I think it's past the point where you can really go for those big all-in plays as the Nico. You should just be farming for those max range E's. Try to find a bit of poke before you go into that all-in, because she has the Frozen Tomb. Even if that was the 1v1, she could have just dodged the ultimate herself.
A little bit of a misplay here from Kel'Thuzad. He actually uses the teleport to get back to lane, but that does mean that we're about to have the Ocean Dragon spawn, and Kel'Thuzad is not going to have TP, whereas Jimbo Baggins is about to have his come up.
Nice chunk of damage onto Guard. They have a small window where Guard isn't going to have that ultimate, and I think that's very key to play around here. Lissandra, if she doesn't have that ultimate, she doesn't really bring much to the team fight. They're looking to find something onto this Nico, but this Xin Zhao is hovering around this dragon already. They're going to wrestle control of bot lane. They've wrestled control of mid. They just need to rotate over to this dragon right now and see what they can get started. But they do have to be careful of that teleport advantage.
Definitely do need to be wary of the numbers advantage. It could be a 4v5 very quickly. There's no way that Kel'Thuzad is getting there on time. Honestly, if I was him, I'd just start walking down. But
ACST dropping really low. He tries to flash. He doesn't finish off the kill.
They don't actually manage to find Nico there. That is disastrously bad. And ACST dropped very low with no ultimate available. So he's not going to be able to contest Dragon. And that is just going to be a misplay coming out from Destiny, giving away the second Dragon of the game.
And we saw how bad the combo was there. Without the Lissandra ultimate, they can't lock down this Nico for any given time. The Echo almost gets one-shot by the turnaround damage there. And For Fun have a real win condition here. They're getting the Dragons. They're on point for probably 21-minute Dragon Soul, 22 minutes. So it's a real threat here for the side of Destiny. And the train doesn't stop here. Simdini going in for a gank. The teleport coming through though. They might turn this around.
Goes in. DST guard though. Here he comes. Frozen Tomb available. It is going to find its mark on the Mundo. He actually used Frozen Tomb on Mundo with passive, so it didn't do anything. That is disastrous from DST guard. And they are just going to turn it around and get a second free kill.
And I don't think he realizes the weakness of his champion there. We see he brings little damage to the table. Lissandra's all about that crowd control, but he used his E as damage. He didn't even opt to take it. Azuko trying to find a play. Might find it here, but the lead for the Xin Zhao is insane here. He just takes it down.
The healing is just too much. He gets the solo kill onto Aceco.
More action in the bot lane here. We're seeing Byasin bound on the
does
tower.
land a root under tower, but the rocket barrage.
Oh my god, it doesn't end. Jimbo Baggins in the bot lane here.
Jimbo Baggins TP's in. The wall comes through. Solar Flare to try and keep Ardmona at bay, but it's not going to buy him too much time. Or is it?
Oh.
He almost gets away. No, the auto attack from Kiratine is going to be what seals the deal and ends it all.
And yeah, we saw how close that heal was coming through for Greedo. If he got that heal off, that Leona probably would have survived after all of that. Leona might have survived, but I think the damage has been done. Galaxy Cat, that's the real one. He's running straight for that Morgana. Doesn't find anything though, but we're seeing just how much this lead matters for the Xin Zhao now. 6-0. He hasn't even completed the Eclipse yet. Once he completes that item, it's going to be really difficult to deal with this Xin Zhao.
That's the guy at League of Legends. He does have that 600 gold bounty on his back, and this is against a team that has a lot of pick potential. So, you know, one bad misposition from the Xin Zhao could put 1,000 gold right into the pocket of Destiny. And, you know, they only have about, you know, a 4.5k gold lead. One kill on Xin Zhao is going to basically almost halve that. So they do have to be very careful.
Look at the scoreboard right now. Look at the items and completions on the side of For Fun. This has to be such a scary point for the likes of Destiny. Mythics on every champion. Some champions have a little bit more to boot. That Xin Zhao is extremely fed. About has half an item complete.
Plus Phage at this stage of the game already. Aceco maybe looking to make a play on a Galaxy Cat here. We'll see if it works. They do go forward here. No Frozen Tomb to be seen, unfortunately.
You gotta give it to Azuko, even though he's really been kicked down in this game. He's still going for plays. He has not let that affect him, and he's still going for plays. But unfortunately, just the opponent is ahead for a reason. He's out farming, out killing, and Azuko really needs to rely on his team at this point. But there's not too much to rely on.
I mean,
every lane is full now.
I've talked about Azuko's champ pool in the past, how he really does like to favor these champions that, you know, when he's ahead and he's having a good game and everything's going well, which, you know, often he is able to kind of get away with due to him playing on such a nice team that doesn't really have a lot of weaknesses. He's able to get ahead and do really well on these champions like the Lee Sin, like the Echo, but these champions when they're behind are so worthless. Lee Sin and Echo, maybe two of the, like, least champions that you'd want to see on your team when they're not doing too hot, which definitely a pretty severe weakness on the side of Destiny right now is just kind of having a champion that is not going to be able to offer a whole lot except for maybe that AoE stun in a team fight.
Yeah, and speaking of worthless, you gotta say that Lissandra's passive is really underwhelming. If your team isn't dropping kills on the board here, you bring all this utility, but unfortunately they don't have the damage. This Echo is so far behind. The Ashe is behind. The Yorick's just built for split pushing. He's not been joining these team fights often, so they haven't been able to make use of their picks here. And I'd say the key parts, you really need at least this Echo or this Ashe to be accelerated here. Otherwise,
they have spotted 3 members of For Fun in the top side, and they are going to use this opportunity to get dragon control, should I say, absolutely immediately.
Yeah, this For Fun, you're crazy to let this go. I know they're going for the Rift Herald trade on this side, but this is a real win condition. I believe we're on the Mountain Drake here, so that is such a strong Drake to have versus a team that lacks damage, so they better be running over to this dragon. I want to see them fight for this. And yeah, this better be...
Definitely do want to see a scuffle break out, and I'm excited to see it happen.
Unfortunately, it is not the mountain. It is the
all
cloud.
ultimates are available.
But
Cloud Dragon Soul is going to be the one to pick.
They get first turret. I don't know why directed camera is showing me top lane right now. Hopefully it switches us over to bot lane. Finally it does. I'm zooming us out. We've got a huge view I'll switch over to Destiny's vision. They were able to wrestle all this control. Meanwhile, for Fun's vision, they actually haven't got much here. But still, the Dragon Dance is beginning. The Mundo's already down. The Yorick's coming over. Asuko is trying to start us off here, but doesn't quite find an angle.
Does miss the dunk binding there, but Vyacinth and Greedo moving their way into the middle of the Dragon Pit. Simpdini on the sidelines. The damage of that Xin Zhao, very, very scary right now. Kiratine whiffing another dark binding. We'll see how this is about to break out.
They're just opting to
This is
walk
going
the
to be
Mundo
a very
down.
scary fight. Mundo is almost there. I think they're waiting for him, which is very smart in my opinion.
I got pranked. I thought that was the Mundo already at the Dragon Pit. It was the Nico transformed into the Mundo, but they've finally walked Mundo down, and they're surely going to start us off here. They're posturing for something. Ash is pushing in your lane, bot lane right now. You got to start something off if you're for fun here. Otherwise, they're just giving up resources.
No binding available. Surely they go for it.
You have to be decisive if you're for fun here. If you're watching the VOD, you got to make this call. My camera's also on the top lane, but I believe they finally have started up this dragon.
Yeah, Simpdini is going to be on the dragon, but we have DST Guard looking in the sidelines, maybe looking to go in there, get a big Frozen Tomb. We'll see how it goes. Damage dropped onto Aceco, though. That's going to be very scary. DST Guard goes in. Frozen Tomb lands onto Simpdini. Ardmona gets ulted by Tristana out of the pit, but here comes Kiratine. The Morgana ultimate finds its way onto 3, but doesn't connect onto anyone. He does have the stopwatch, though, to keep him nice and safe. Ardmona locked up in the sidelines. Kiratine goes down. Aceco looking to follow up. No, he gets the ultimate. He's going to get out to safety. Ardmona forced to flash out, and that does look like For Fun are going to secure themselves their third dragon of the game and come out ahead.
Yeah, that was slow and steady there. They finally do get it, though. And I gotta ask, what is Team Destiny doing? You're getting your Lissandra to contest for a steal here. The Asuko's nowhere to be seen. He has Flash, he has Smite, and they're not making a play for the steal. But Lissandra's basically on a suicide mission. Just trying to do it on her own. Trying to
got dropped to below half HP before the fight even began. He walked up a little bit too far to Greedo, maybe not respecting just how quickly Hail of Blades Tristana can throw out E and a few auto attacks and really nuke some damage with that Kraken Slayer. But I mean, I'm sure he'll learn now because he got dropped immensely low there. Not only that, but Ardmona tried to make his way into the pit, but got ulted away by Tristana. And then when he tried to re-enter, he found Vyacinth and Kel'Thalas on top of him. So really, really difficult time getting in there and doing the damage. And with the damage dealers of Team Destiny forced out of the pit, there really was no one there to be able to contest aside from DST Guard. And with no Zhonya's completed on Lissandra, he just got melted down real fast.
Yeah, this early game has really put a freaking nail in the coffin. It's not quietly sealed off yet, but the Destiny have basically one more shot at that dragon before the soul is completed now. It's not the end of the world. Having a Mundo running at you with a Wind Dragon Soul is incredibly scary, but it's not game ending here. They still have, I think, some sort of hope in the way of scaling here. Of course, the compositions with that Mundo and the Tristana being able to scale up is incredibly frightening, but they still have a lot of CC to play around. DST Guard's face checking here.
Simpdini is going to be there. DST Guard wastes the E, so he's not going to have it to escape. He does pop the Frozen Tomb on himself to heal up just a little bit, but the ultimates are there from Simpdini and Kel'Thalas, and he's going to go down. Ardmona finding a binding onto Galaxy Cat. The arrow is going to be there as well. Do they have the damage? One more auto will do it. Yes, it does. Ardmona finding himself the pick they need, but here is Vyacinth to lock him up with Simpdini, and they're going to trade the kill on the Ashe as well. Kiratine maybe going to be following up Shore and Suit. Kel'Thalas is chasing very, very quickly. Does pop the ultimate into the Zhonya's to try and keep himself alive for a little bit longer, but it's only going to buy himself enough time to delay the inevitable.
Yeah, it's actually just crazy how far ahead they are. We see how little damage they can pick off the Nico just, but then the Xin Zhao and the Mundo and the Leona enter the fray, and they are just tickling them down, and they aren't being complacent like the last team. They're going straight towards that Baron Nashor. They have Asuko available here, so they got to be careful. There's only a one level
DST Guard is waiting off in the sidelines. He does not have the Frozen Tomb available. Jimbo Baggins trying to do all the work he can with that Maiden. Aceco maybe looking to land a stun to turn things around, but no. Surely they don't just get off the Baron here. I guess they do. The call is made to back off.
Yeah, I thought it was a bit strange. They did find some picks. They picked up a lot of gold, but they hadn't spent it yet. Yes, they had a temporary man advantage, but at this point in the game, the death timers aren't long enough. You had to really commit to that 50-50, if anything, if you wanted to take a fight before that support and that AD carry ended up respawning and coming back. But they're just toying with it. They're seeing if they committed. They didn't. They end up going back to the lanes. I think they're pretty happy just scaling for the time being. Just Dragon is going to be spawning soon, and that's what Destiny really have to worry about here. So we'll see how the fight ends up playing out, but if we look at the scoreboard right now, and we're looking at the Asuko finally completes that rocket belt, but you're looking at the Xin Zhao on 2.5 items, and you're wondering who is going to take this man down. Normally, the weakness of lethality Xin Zhao is that he's extremely squishy. You know, if you find your way into that Xin Zhao ult, you can actually pop him, but right now he's built the Sterix. He's countered any thoughts of blowing him up, and he's just bringing so much damage to the table. It's pretty disgusting.
Yeah, absolutely. He is very, very terrifying right now. And I got to say, I'm not a fan in the slightest of the Zhonya's Rush Morgana builds. I feel like they are extremely archaic. She's maybe one of the best supports in the game at applying things like Moonstone. And I mean, at this point in the game, right, your team needs all the stats it can get. Going Zhonya's, I feel like, is very, very greedy.
Yeah, and you've got the
one more item.
You've got the lockdown. Ashe ult, Morgana blinding, Lissandra, the Echo Sun, Yorick Wall. There's already plenty of engage. You don't have to be running in Zhonya's as that Morgana. You really should be sticking by the side of your ADK, allowing that Ashe to get as much DPS as she can, because God knows Destiny need it versus Mundo and the Xin Zhao.
Definitely. Well, we are seeing the Soul Dragon spawn here, and potentially for fun. You know, they might be able to make a play here. Big Stun coming up from Aceco. He does blow up in return. The ultimate not able to come out in time. Yasnith going in. Pop Blossom lands onto 3, and it destroys the health bars of Destiny. They get eviscerated, and for fun, claim the Cloud Soul.
Yeah, and they're gonna do the victory lap. Surely run over to Baron. This team, Corruption has to be watching from work or home or wherever he is right now and smiling with the way his team has performed. They've just played it by the book and dismantled Destiny. Destiny have to be wondering what they were doing in the early game in Fade. They really probably just looked at the standings right now and saw For Fun at the bottom, and they thought they could take this team pretty easy. They could just have a bit of fun with it, but For Fun's not playing for fun this game. They're playing for keeps.
We talked about this in Champ Select. Nico, one of those champions that just has the X factor. All it takes is that one Pop Blossom to just dismantle a team. And we saw Galaxy Cat pull it out right there and show exactly why that champion should be so feared.
Yeah, it was a crazy Nico ultimate, but even then the fight was looking so doomed for the side of Destiny, and just to have those nails in the coffin again, that is just incredible. From the side of For Fun, their team fighting is on point, as well as just being so far ahead statistically. They're pulling off the mechanical plays they need to just end Destiny's run here.
What's your clock at, by the way?
My clock's at 57, 58. I think I was a bit ahead. Oh my god, don't look bot right now. While I am ahead.
I just had to speed up a little bit.
Yeah, hopefully we are quite synced up, but I think it is just going to be bit of a finisher here for side of For Fun. They're just doing the rounds, taking the towers. Maybe might need one more Baron to end, but right now they're so far ahead.
Definitely are just cleaning out the map, getting all the advantages they possibly can.
While you're adjusting your clock, Asuko managed to die in the bot lane, so it's pretty rough for Destiny to find anything. We're seeing the vision right now. It's always that pitiful thing that happens when you're losing. When a team has Baron, you have to start placing those wards in your like Raptor bush there. It doesn't give you much information, but it's the only safe information that you're not going out on a limb to go get. And yeah, even this Yorick, who is built for split pushing, is suffering versus Mundo now. We see the Hullbreaker and the Sundra help him out a lot, but Mundo's more than capable of holding his own right now. Rest cannot be said for the other players on his team. We look at the Lissandra build, she's literally just CC. This Ashe has to put in so much work with this Kraken Slayer, but
you have to really be careful about giving away openings to end the game when you are looking at a Tristana. Champion just does so much damage to towers with that satchel charge. You gotta be very careful, but hold on, Kirsten does land a big Pop Blossom lands onto 2 members. Aceco forced to ult away. The Frozen Tomb is gonna be there. They are able to kill Galaxy Cat. Team going down though as the trade. Jimbo Baggins going down. Aceco looking to follow up. Can Telthas land it? Flashes for the kill, and he finds it. And now DST Guard forced to defend this top lane by himself with no mana and no ultimate.
And they didn't have the Ash there, but neither did For Fun. For Fun didn't have the Xin Zhao, which is most of
maybe
their
able to
gold.
turn this one around. He misses the arrow on Vyacint. This is terrible. He also cleanses nothing, but he is able to turn it around, find the kill onto Vyacint, but all the while, Simpdini split pushing in the bot lane.
Yeah, Simtini and the 3 Cannoneers or whatever. Look at those cannons go, all wailing away on that inhibitor. Built up such a massive wave and punished accordingly. So even though Destiny finds some stuff back, it's actually just going to be a shot in the foot. An inhibitor down when you're going to have objectives like that Elder Dragon spawning soon is really hard to deal with. You've at least got some champions that aren't too bad at clearing waves, but yeah, not being there at the start of the Elder, like a lot of the things Destiny have been doing, they've been doing well. It's just the money that isn't in their favor. They've had dragon control a lot of the game. They've been there first, but unfortunately they've just thrown the fights. But now I don't even think they're going to have dragon control. They're really going to have to wrestle for this one with the inhibitor being down. And yeah, just looking at the builds for the side of Team Destiny, as Zonya's coming through for the Lissandra now, there's just little to no damage on the side of Destiny. Xin Zhao wasn't in that last fight. Mundo's just finished his Spirit Visage, and if you look at the side of Destiny, where is the Grievous Wounds? Like, Mundo...
Absolutely, and the nail on the coffin here, the flawless KDA Tristana, who is yet to be killed, now has a Knight's Vow on top of her that you have to get through as well.
Yeah, it's looking really rough. As soon as Elder spawns, I think they're going to beeline it for it right now. We have a little time, so we'll probably have some fun in some ARAMs, but even then, this is a pretty scary team to ARAM against if you misstep once versus Nico, which you don't even know which one is the Nico. You could be going to the fountain pretty swiftly.
Yeah, Nico can actually also use Tristana's extremely long auto attack range at this point of the game to hit the tower structures from further away than she normally could.
Yeah, or she could just take advantage of some of the melee's movement speed to get herself into position. I think that's pretty underrated, the fact that you can copy people's movement speed on a champion. Movement speed matters a lot in League of Legends, and when you've got this Cloud Drake on top of that, you're going to be sprinting really fast into the snare range, a lot faster than people would expect.
Zooming for sure.
Ardmona, look at this! Look at Ardmona on the side right now. I said they had champions to deal well with minions. Not so much if you don't have that Runans completed on the Ash. He's opted for the Phantom Dancer, and that is pretty good in the team fights. Unfortunately, right now you're on wave clear duty, and you've got no AoE to deal with those minions here. We'll see.
Yeah, definitely Ashet's gonna struggle against a team like this. I do wonder exactly why we are seeing what I think we're seeing out of the Morgana. I believe this is going to be a Leandri's Torment.
I have no clue what that are.
And if it is, that's interesting.
If he builds the Lost Chapter, then yeah, 100% that is, but you wouldn't expect that at this point. You're probably not even going to make...
Crystal, Amp Tome, and a Fiendish Codex in the inventory, so...
yeah. It's looking
it's looking that way.
I don't know what Destiny are going to do versus Elder Dragon now. They're trying to poke him down, trying to use their long range here, but as soon as that Zhao gets in there, people are going to
playing very aggressive here, posturing very far forward. Galaxy Cat, though, off in the sidelines. They're kind of just getting poked down by Ardmona, but it's not doing too much damage, and they do have that Elder Dragon available to really do some damage.
It's pretty interesting. They're trying to push in through the bot here, and that is the lane furthest from the Mundo, but you'd imagine taking down those mid lane inhibitor towers is much easier than the Nexus at this point. Baron is even alive here. You could use the Elder to secure the Baron objective again, but they're just opting for ARAMs here. It's a bit of shaky shot calling.
It is a little bit shaky for sure. This is kind of the point of the game where, you know, one bad move and you could throw very, very easily.
I'm just thinking that Elder Dragon, especially the first one you take, is such a short timer. You got to use it effectively here. Finally, we've seen someone.
Oh, here we go. They go in. Ardmona is going to explode. The second is going to be Kiratine. No, it's going to be DST Guard. He gets caught up as he's trying to get away. Does pop the Frozen Tomb to buy himself a little bit of time, but it's not going to be enough, and he's going to go down. Kel'Thalas, invincible under these towers right now. He does not take damage. He is dancing around both Nexus towers at full health, not even winking an eye as they throw down both towers of Team Destiny, end their win streak in style, and put themselves on the map.
Yeah, Destiny's reign has been checked here by one of the bottom tier teams. We didn't see it last season. They only lost to Jupi's Angels, but now they have lost a game to For Fun, who is finding themselves on the bottom, and they're just making a statement here that we do not belong here. We belong up there with teams like Job Seekers, with teams like Corona Spaceship, and maybe even with teams like Destiny after you've just beaten them down after a game like that. I'm a bit speechless after that one. You had to think Destiny was underestimating their opponent, but Team For Fun showed up to play tonight, and I don't think Destiny were ready for it.
Absolutely, they really did show up. And I mean, you could also say that, they didn't have one of their star players, Prodigium, who has consistently, time after time, really carried that bot lane to very big heights. But, at the same time, For Fun also having a sub of their own for this game. So definitely hard to say.
Yeah, and I'd say Corruption is a big part of their team, so equally, Prodigium not being there is pretty much equaled out by the fact that Corruption wasn't there. I think Team For Fun would have still made the same calls, even if Prodigium was there. I'm pretty sure Team Destiny would have gone for that invade, and they just made a huge misplay right at the start of the game. And I guess at this level of competition, 3 kills at the start of the game normally isn't the end of the world, but if you continue to make those reckless plays, it's just insurmountable. We saw Destiny were pretty intelligent, but still, the goal.
I'm cackling a little bit because what is that Mundo damage? Full tank build, by the way.
Yeah, he ended up topping the damage chart somehow. I wasn't
convincingly
I wasn't
topping the damage.
expecting it. It's
He has an
kind of-
11-0 Xin Zhao on his team, a flawless KDA Tristana, and he gaps them by that much. What is that champion?
I didn't expect it at all. I was definitely looking to see that Xin Zhao near the top, or maybe even that Tristana, especially with the gold in their pockets, but Mundo doesn't care. He goes where he pleases, and he damages who he pleases here. So I guess we'll just segue right into that MVP discussion. Who do you think ends up taking MVP for fun after that amazing game?
I mean, if we go by stats alone, Mundo played extremely well, clearly. But at the same time, Simpdini really did shut Aceco down. He got a lead, and he was really belligerent with those invades, finding Aceco and also making sure that he was at every single dragon, getting that priority in the bot lane, getting that priority in the mid lane, and really securing that kind of win condition for his team there, and not giving Destiny any objectives. So, I mean, Simpdini, very, very convincing, but then also Galaxy Cat landing some incredible pop blossoms and Greedo playing incredibly safe, not being too risky at all, and having a very flawless KDA by the end of the game, 15 kill participation to 0 deaths.
It was
so I'm not sure. I'm very torn. What are your opinions?
I think when you look at the way this tournament has gone, we've seen plenty of Xin Zhaos, and finally he was given quite the head start, but this Xin Zhao really showed you the power of that champion early. He non-stop pulled the trigger on those invades, pulled the trigger on those ganks, and we see how little these champions can do without their flash button. Xin Zhao hops on top of you, and you've got about 2 seconds before that knockup comes through, and you're dead because he's outputting a billion damage in the meantime. I think the early game was the key factor for Team For Fun. We saw the game just pilot itself. The Team For Fun, of course, still could have made better decisions in the game, but it just didn't matter once they built a lead that huge. And you really look at early game champions like the Xin Zhao building that lead for the Mundo to just run through, going crazy in those team fights, dealing all the damage he wants. Giving Tristana that safety in the team fights to just not die at all, just play it cool, play it clean, just sit back, auto attack whenever you got the opportunity. So I'm leaning more towards the jungler here, just because early game did kind of have that butterfly effect to just allow For Fun to just snowball. But I don't know. I think just looking at the stats again, Mundo did put up a pretty good profile for himself there.
Absolutely, Mundo going to be a player to watch, but I'm inclined to agree with Simpdini being most valuable player of the match. But throwing it down to the other team, if we want to do that, what were your thoughts there in terms of Destiny, the players who perhaps put up the most fight in what was a valiant defeat?
It's hard to say. We really didn't see much sparks of hope there for the side of Destiny. We saw players like Asuko and DST Guard try and make plays, but all they ended up doing was accelerating the enemy team, You can look at stats like crowd control score, and Morgana actually put out a decent amount, 50 crowd control score. You'd think champions like Lysandra with just multiple easy to land crowd control might overtake her. Ashe put out an okay amount of damage for the circumstances, but I think Yorick was actually the most pressure on the map at that point.
Yeah, I also am inclined to say that Yorick was probably the player that was maybe impacting the game the most.
Yeah, he at least kept that Mundo locked down. It was really onto the rest of the team to make plays around the map. There's a lot of times they came to that Yorick's lane and they weren't able to perform. I think if in a vacuum, if we left that Yorick on his own, he would have won that matchup. But unfortunately, plenty of external factors allowed that Mundo to snowball out of control there. So
Yeah,
I'm willing
definitely.
to say, of course, Yorick kind of having the favorable laning phase, but yeah, just trying to look for other things around the side of Destiny. You can't really find much else to praise them for here. So I'm willing to give it over to that Yorick.
All right, Jimbo Baggins going to be the SVP of the game.
And yeah, we've got about 10 minutes, guys, so make sure you guys are talking in chat because I'm going to set up the giveaway for tonight's stream when you guys get back. Make sure you guys are spamming, if not too much, otherwise you'll get the spam hammer. Unfortunately, I've seen a bit too many copy passes from DST Guard tonight, but yeah, if you guys are talking in chat, I will include you onto the spin wheel, and I will drop a form in the chat for you to claim your prize. Whatever it is, we will have to wait for the spin wheel. But guys, we're going to go on an intermission. We'll get everything set up, so don't go anywhere because we got another banger lined up, another undefeated team, Youngbloods, going against the recently defeated Destiny. So we'll see whether that fuels them into their next match here, or they're just going to continue to crash and burn. Don't go anywhere, guys. We will be back in a swift 9 minutes.
thing, and then you can sort of CC him. But honestly, I think like we can probably win it, but it's kind of just like a bit busted from level 1 because the level 1 was so troll. And after that, it's kind of like unwinnable.
Yeah,
But
true,
yeah.
true. Walk us through like what the comms were like on that level 1, like leading up to that invade, should I say? I mean, we saw that Yorick was on the other side of the map. He wasn't quite on the same page as you all.
Yeah, I mean, I have to take like full responsibility for that. I called the invade because I mean we do have decent level 1. We have a lot of CC, but we're not so good in the 5v5. And then obviously we didn't find them at the red. And then Callum, like our Ashe player, made the correct call. He was like, no, go back to safe way, like go back the way we wanted. Because the fact they're not at the red probably means that they are like 5-man camped in a bush somewhere. And I was like, no, let's go this way, let's go this way. And then as you all saw, like I face checked that bush and like insta-died, and then we got like triple killed, and it was like a mess.
True. Well, we're gonna have to get you out of here because we are just about to hop into Champ Select. So have fun with your game. And it looks like Urgot is gonna be the first ban taken off immediately.
You're scared.
Is Bloodexer there? No, he's not. All right,
yeah,
folks.
I'm back.
Oh, no,
up,
he's
so
here.
I was doing back end stuff. Apparently, I had audio issues on my other scene. I have to investigate why that's happening. Probably didn't configure the right audio output and stuff. Some default like webcam mic's probably picking it up, but that's all the way over. I have no clue. But we'll figure it out afterwards. So about that, but yeah, we've got a little bit of a tidbit there from DST Guard on how they felt that match. They're going into a new one versus Youngbloods, which is currently undefeated here, guys. So we're gonna have to see them pull back pretty hard in order to make make the night a bit more enjoyable for them. If they come off the back of a 0-2 night, I'm sure they're going to be going to bed quite angry. So we'll see whether they can make this comeback happen. We've seen pretty similar bans versus these teams. Destiny banning out the Urgot, banning out the Zoe, pretty common picks to do versus Youngbloods. And yeah, the Zinzao immediately being taken off at the hands of Asuko. He's probably looking to play that after he just got dumpstered by it. He's playing it a lot. DST Guards Akali had a great showing on it. The Yorick we just saw, all taken off the board, all target bans, nothing crazy.
Yeah, they definitely banning the Zinzao, the Akali, the Yorick. Definitely, maybe not looking to have Jimbo Baggins whip out the Yorick again as an answer to the tanks, and we can see why, as 2 tanks are locked in immediately.
Yeah, it's pretty clear cut what they're going for here if they've got 2 tanks like that, and the problem is when you draft stuff like that early, you open up for a lot of counterplay. If DST Guard hops onto something that specializes in killing tanks, then that draft becomes a lot less viable here. Cassio isn't exactly the best tank killer in the game, but she definitely has that DPS to back it up. You've got to itemize a lot of magic resist, otherwise she's going to tear you to shreds, and you can't really afford to do that too recklessly versus Tristana as well, so it's a great pick.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Cassiopeia, she does have the ability to go into that Leandri's build, which can do quite a bit of damage when you do land those Qs and those Ws on the tanks in team fights. Diana going to get locked in here, and honestly, I'm not sure how I feel about that pick into the double tank lock in here. Yeah. Diana, traditionally a fairly bad champion into tankier teams that she has a difficult time kind of diving in and exploding, you could say, and does look like that's kind of going to be the comp that they're going for here as Nautilus gets locked in 3rd.
Yeah, it is a lot of beefy boys on the side of Youngbloods right now, and they're really hiding their carries, but this is an opportunity to take away those hyper carries now from the side of Youngbloods. We know that Springding is a pretty good Vayne player, and that's probably the
need
champion.
To ban Lulu if you're in the side of Destiny here. If they are able to get their hands on something like Lulu Cog, it is lights out for Team Destiny. I do not see how they are able to get through this massive front line with Tristana, Diana, and Cass, and onto a Cog Lulu. I just don't see that ever happening. So you need to get Lulu off the board really badly.
I think putting the Lulu into the mid lane, though, is a bit of a risk you run there, because it does open up basically one clear win condition for that Diana jungle, and that is smash out bot lane there. If you manage to put this Cog more behind, they've basically got no more eggs in their basket. They've just got a bunch of beefcakes.
Just whip out the Doinby Nautilus mid. It's fine.
Nautilus locked in does make the composition pretty clear cut, but we'll see where they go with it. I'm expecting Sping Ding to play more things along the line of Vayne here if it isn't taken off the board. It is still quite the hyper carry. It's just you're a bit more at risk to the likes of Diana, but.
Kog'Maw is so good. Even if you don't go Lulu, Kog'Maw is so good here. If, like, first item Wits End, able to buy that into a Cassiopeia Diana comp, no, decides to go for the Vayne. See, I think this comp is terrible to play Vayne into. I think it's great for Kog'Maw. I think it's terrible for Vayne. I think this is a scary pick.
Yeah, Vayne is a bit more slippery, so you've got a bit more leniency when dodging out onto those skill shots from Diana and Cassio, but normally you just want to sit there and just be dealing damage. You don't really have time to be outplaying. When you have this many tanks on the side, you need to be auto-attacking, you need to be dropping that damage down. I think if GST are ever miss playing it, Vayne is still going to find those opportunities. There's still going to be plenty of front to back. It's just, obviously, it's a lot easier without Kog'Maw having that increased range, but we'll see if he manages to just outplay in the laning phase. He is comfortable on the Vayne pick, so that's probably why we're seeing it come out here. And seeing the set...
Yeah, definitely. Vayne, one of those champions that has quite the incredible amount of kind of player comfortability to her, where, you know, Vayne mains are able to have great success on her, even into comps that, you know, normally she would have trouble into, because she's again another one of those champions that just kind of has that X factor, and we might be able to see it here. Vel'Koz is going to get locked in, so as we predicted, it's going to be a fairly big glass cannon AD carry and mid laner to round out this composition. Now, what are your thoughts on this one, Bloodexer?
I think it's pretty interesting draft. I think picking champions like Shen and set into Vayne is pretty suicidal, honestly. Normally you don't have many opportunities later on into the game to get that Shen anywhere near, or the set as well, unless the tank's really mispositioned here. The set really has trouble sticking to that Vayne as well, and taking out items like Stridebreaker as well, even though it is the support set with just so little tools to lock down this Vayne. It's really all on that Diana, I think, is basically the one champion that is going to hop onto that Vayne and try and blow her up here. So I'm leaning more towards the side of Youngbloods after those last two picks, but we'll see. That obviously laning phases thing, having that Shen ult during the laning phase is going to provide so much more pressure for the team that is Destiny that likes to make these early game plays. I just realized I need to swap over these logos. I don't think it matters too much now that the draft has been done, but yeah. What are your thoughts on the side of the Vel'Koz pick backing up these tanks here?
Well, I mean, I think Set and Tristana are going to definitely do a good job of putting the pressure on for this Vayne. I think Vel'Koz Cassiopeia, I think Vel'Koz just outranges Cass. There's not a lot she can do really to put the pressure on him. She has no way of really kind of getting on top of him until maybe like level 6, or if a Diana comes in for a gank. But I definitely do think that top side is going to be fairly inconsequential. Ornn probably just going to be playing weak side, as Ornn does, scaling up. Obviously, if the game gets to late, it's not even going to be close. Destiny, I don't see how they're going to kill this massive front line that they have with only Cassiopeia, Tristana, and Diana. Definitely champions that are not known for their tank busting capabilities. Cassiopeia probably being the best of those, and you know, she's very immobile and can just get blown up by a Vel'Koz late game. But yeah, it's also just because of those ornaments. Ornaments late game really strong. Riot did a big sweeping nerf to basically every champion's damage in the game, which makes items a lot more impactful. And when you have ornaments just giving you that kind of like pseudo gold advantage, it definitely can really put your team ahead in those late game situations. So I'm definitely looking at their composition for late game. For early game though, you know, Set, he can just randomly get that Hex Flash into a stun and land a few kills. So I'm going to be all eyes on Kiratine here.
Yeah, there is definitely some playmaking still on the side of Destiny, but at some point. It's like that for fun game. If the win conditions are met, it's kind of doomed from that point on. We'll see if they can stop it getting there. Obviously, Destiny, a very aggressive team. I'm expecting to see lots of action in the early game before team fights and team compositions are even a thing. You got to get through the laning phase, as I said. But we've got a little bit of time left. We're going to hop over to our sponsors and give them a proper shout out now. Transition over to the major sponsors. And we are going to go backwards this time. Thank you, McDonald's Darwin, for being such a strong pillar for us. They've supported us seasons in the past. They're supporting us this season. Really big thank you to them. Northern Territory Government just hopped on board, but we are more than glad to have them on board, giving us so many funds to work with. And the Territory's own Paul's Iced Coffee, we just gave one away to Jimbo Baggins. I don't know how we're going to get them down there. Of course, maybe we'll fly him up. It's the easier thing. He's in a better location that way. But we're going to swap over to our minor sponsors now and give our shout-outs. Next Year Entertainment, Serotonic Beauty, VR Gamers, Game & Creations, Social and Sports Club, Tracy Village, Howard Springs 7, The Rabbit Hole, Palace of India, Fresh Point Cafe, John John's, Darwin Barbers, District North Kitchen, Wicked Energy, Joyce Main, Next Level Gym, and Bell Accounting. All those guys are supporting us and giving you the games we have today, and I wasn't expecting Game 2 to go like that, so I'm excited to see how Game 3 is going to play out for the side of Destiny.
Absolutely. Our Destiny really going to be able to get their head out of the gutter here, because this is going to be one of the big factors of this game. It's going to be if Destiny are able to fix the tilt that they inevitably have. They're inevitably tilted, frustrated, upset after that game's performance. And, you know, Youngbloods, they haven't played a game today, so they're fresh, they're riled up, and it's going to be the mental factor that they really are going to be having to overcome, I feel.
Yeah, well, they got to get through this pause first. Destiny's classic is just pausing the game for whatever reason. This team loves to pause, and hopefully it's not like they've done in the past. They've gotten a lot better. They've improved their gameplay, and they're pausing as NTE Sports has gone on. But I remember back in the day, scrimming versus team, you'll pause for 30 minutes minimum. So I'm hoping that that's not what's going on today. In fact, just looking at the chat, it may have even been Youngbloods initiated it, so I might be just roasting them for no reason.
The Destiny Flame, for someone that previously played on Destiny, mind you.
I played on Deck Girls. That team is long gone. Peter Pham, shout out to him, was the captain. But never joined sides with the likes of Destiny. I think I may have played with Prodigium at a point, but never the full squad of Destiny. I don't know how I would have kept my mental, but we will see. I'm getting a bit of delay in my game here, so we'll probably have to sync up.
Yeah, me too. I'm full locked. I am full frozen. Oh, there we go.
I'm at 28.
I'm at 28,
29,
30.
Pretty.
All right, looks like we're good.
Pretty
okay.
synced. We just had a synchronized freeze there, and looks like they must have been watching the last game and looking to do some level 1 shenanigans, because it may have been a weak point for Destiny after that last game. They really did misplay the early game. And
they are walking up here. They're going to walk into ACST. Flash forward. The hook barely lands. Dredgeline not quite finding its mark. And DST Guard is forced to start W level 1 to thwart them off.
Yeah, I don't even think it was necessary after the hook was gone. What's really threatening that Diana there? Maybe Sejuani Q, but that also is a huge commitment to the play. Ardmona walking in for some vision. Spring Ding thinks he's probably got back up, decides to just back off. And they are going to get good vision onto this blue buff. Nixu has to start here. He's not going back for that red buff start. But yeah, some flashes blown. Some flashes blown, but Diana typically wants to play pretty passive in the early game anyway, so I think they end up being on the positive side of that trade if you're Destiny.
Now we're going to start on the red buff here. Both junglers starting bot side.
Yeah, we'll see how these junglers end up playing the early game. I'm expecting ACST to probably dial it back a little bit with that flash being gone, but Nixu, even though he's playing Sejuani, plays one of the most aggressive Sejuanis you've ever seen in your life. He drops kills left, right, and center with this Sejuani. It is not by any means the farm meatball tank that most teams pick in Korea, and let it just scale up, sit in front of the team, do nothing. Nixu Sejuani, he turns it into a full-on skirmisher like Rat had intended it to be. And yeah, it goes for all those plays, but...
Absolutely. Django, though, dropping quite low. Level 1 already off the bat.
Yeah, don't sleep on Shen's landing phase, but don't sleep on this invade either. And I think Youngbloods have a keen eye on it. But we've got action in the bot lane here, going in onto Ardmona here, Spring Ding and Fast Runner.
Line does land onto Ardmona, but the double stun coming out from Kiratini. The Ignite drops onto Fast Runner. The Satchel Charge explodes, and that's going to be first blood going over to Ardmona. But not for long, because in the top side, it is Chaos. Django flashes away, but Jimbo
He's
Baggins,
diving!
a couple of autos. He's diving for it. One more auto will do it. He flashes forward, but the tower is going to claim his life and trade it 1-for-1.
He's going real deep for that. I don't know how the wave looks right now, but I think it was in Django's favor there. They go for 1-for-1. And yeah, I don't know what was ending up in that jungle, how that fight went out. Spring Ding's actually in trouble now himself.
Spring Ding is getting jumped on with that rocket jump. The bomb is about to explode. Is the damage there? Ooh, a sliver of health as he gets out to safety.
Now, most people probably look at that Tristan and be like, why didn't you flash? But it's probably better to hold that there because Vayne was holding onto the heal. So if you flash there, you're going to trade for heal at best, unless Spring Ding is asleep at the wheel. So it's probably better to hold flash there. A good play by
Fast Runner is going to pick up a lot of solo XP here.
Yeah, and I don't know how this ends up playing out. Destiny end up with a pretty positive trade early on into the game there, but I don't know how the top waves ended up playing out. Did they lose much in the jungle? We lost a lot of information there. I think Destiny did end up stealing away that red buff. I'm not too sure. But yeah, that was quite the skirmish, but out of nowhere, Destiny have already developed a pretty sizable gold lead, 800 gold. Just off that one kill there, advantage that they have. Normally, Youngbloods have had a pretty strong lane in the bot lane. Their bot lane is really solid. The Fast Runner has been setting up so many plays. Spring Ding has always been the hyper carry that they want him to be. They put him on these hyper carries. They expect him to perform, and he always does. But if they fall over, we don't really know how this Youngbloods team operates. Dark Knight has had some carry performances, but he's never really the superstar player that you're looking for. And Django is in huge trouble there.
Unfortunately, still no one lets him play Zoe. That is just first banning against Youngbloods. Every game is Zoe. They just do not want to see him on his signature main champion. But you know, he's shown that he can play the other mages. Velkoz's fairly similar playstyle to Zoe.
Oh, and that
here we go.
W
Nick
does
coming in on
hit,
TFT guard does miss the charge and the W. They managed to get the flash out of the Cassiopeia anyway, but here comes Vayne and Nautilus. They're all coming up the river. 4 men on DST guard at only 4 minutes into the game. That's got to feel terrible.
Yeah, no, he had absolutely no chance there. No flash and cut off from all sides, going down to the Vayne. Probably the worst target you want it going to, but fortunately he had no other choice. The Vayne is a little bit behind in experience, but that goal is definitely going to help her be the hyper carry she needs to be this game. Now, I think I'm a bit ahead of you. I'm currently at 523, 524. So you might have to fast forward that one up a bit, but Nikshu is not stopping here, sitting on a ward, and he might be called out here.
Yeah, the rocket jump is there from Ardmona going in onto Nikshu. He does get the charge over the wall to safety.
Yeah,
Isco actually trying to chase this one. Definitely has to be careful.
Yeah, luckily for him, does have the charge. Not quite able there in time. Is Asuko to get that plant over the wall. And he gets out safely there, but he's still being aggressive. You love to see how aggressive the Sejuani plays, and he's still looking for plays, even though his bot lane is kind of on the back foot there. He's still looking for angles, still testing the waters, but not overexerting himself either. Now,
Jimbo Baggins and to Django here up in the top lane, really just looking to proc grasp of the Undying as much as they can on each other.
And Nikshu is in the fray here. Oh, beautiful hook!
Going for a 2v2 flash hook interrupts rocket jump as Ardmona is going to get stunned up. Nikshu still in the back line. He's dropping low though, and he is going to get finished off by Ardmona, but they do trade 1-for-1. Spring Ding is going to go down next as Aceco and DST Guard looking to follow up on Fast Runner, and they do. It is a disastrous 3-for-1 trade in the favor of Destiny.
Yeah, sorry about the spoilers. Still a bit of out of sync. I paused it now. We should be in sync, so I'm not going to spoil amazing plays like what Fast Runner just accomplished. But unfortunately, it was amazing to play into it.
They do find an incredible Cassiopeia ultimate, and that is going to be a solo, or not quite a solo kill, but a beautiful kill pickup for Team Destiny in the mid lane.
Yeah, it may as well have been Asuko was just there to press his E button. No real skill check required. And yeah, you can't be ulting too close to that Cassiopeia because unfortunately you can't really turn around when you're ulting as Velkoz. No outplay potential there. So he's going to cop that Petrifying Gaze in the face and go down. which is not really what you wanted to see. If the Vayne starts to fall over, you're looking towards this Vel'Koz to at least be somewhat accelerated to help in the team fights, but unfortunately Destiny have fallen over in the early game last time, and they've learned from their mistakes here that they're not given an inch this game. And yeah,
Absolutely.
we haven't even seen things like the Shen ult come into play, which is only going to make it more difficult.
Yeah, this Shen ult is going to be very scary. Shen, a great answer to Ornn, because it kind of is someone that is able to sit there and just play into the Ornn's game plan, where he just wants to play weak side, scale up for team fights, and then click Ornn Horn and give his team a ton of stats with ornaments. He's fine just sitting in the side lane and letting Ornn do that, because he can ult to his team and help them out, whereas Ornn not able to react nearly as well. So definitely a champion that does well into the Ornn for that reason. Not so much a direct kind of counter in the way that, you know, he's able to kill Ornn really easily, but more so in the way that he's able to kind of outplay him across the map. So going to be excited to see how that is utilized by Jimbo Baggins here.
Yeah, this game is pretty opened up for the side of Destiny. They have a pretty hefty lead to work with now, and that's what I was talking about. The team compositions obviously matter once you get to those dragon fights, but what matters more is how much gold you're carrying in your pockets here. DC Guard getting poked out. If then Dark Knight had his ult, then that DC Guard was in huge trouble because he was out of range for the Petrifying Gaze. But fortunately, he'd already spent that cooldown and wasn't able to find a kill there. But really nice skill shots coming out of Dark Knight, able to pick off this Casio, which can't really build boots early, so it's really difficult for these champions like Xerath and Vel'Koz to be dodging out consistently on skill shots. Just pushing back and forwards in the bot lane. We are here. Spingding keeping up in farm, but unfortunately definitely down in gold due to the kills that have gone the way to Tristana, so he's not going to be able to blow up this bot lane and get the lead that he probably wants to carry his team with, but at least he's keeping up pretty evenly. Not so even in the top lane, in the mid lane, and even in the jungle. Just 5 assists to the name of Azuko. I believe last game he didn't even have kill participation, so already infinitely better than his last performance. Onto this Diana.
It definitely does show, though, that this game is not over when, you know, Youngbloods, they kind of drafted this composition that really does have all 3 lanes playing weak side. And, you know, they are scaling. They're looking for those big 5v5 team fights once they get their items online. So that's going to be what we're looking for. The Petrifying Gaze in the mid lane does miss. So does the Moonfall. He turns around, tries to get that Disintegration Ray. But here comes Nikchu. Beautiful prediction there with the Sejuani ultimate, forcing the flash out of DSD Guard.
Yeah, that was so close to Dark Knight dying. He flashes at the perfect time to avoid that Diana. Fast runner inches off that hook there. Onto Ardmona, doesn't quite find it. They're going to reset, but yeah, the junglers are trying to make plays for their team, but not quite landing the mark there. But flashes are down on these pretty immobile champs, so that is pretty important to take note of. Lots of farming this game after such an aggressive start. We're just resetting to just farming back and forth, so much push in the bot lane and the top lane. Seen some action mid, but yeah, unfortunately, we're probably just going to be waiting until those objectives are spawning here. Destiny probably going to look to Dragon Soul as their win condition. And yeah, until then, we're probably not going to see too many skirmishes. But yeah, Destiny definitely have to push the envelope with these early skirmishes. They've got a really good comp for it. And once they blow the game wide open, these tanks aren't really going to be an issue for the likes of the Tristana and the Casio. But still, till they get to that point, pretty frightening to be playing on this knife's edge of, you know, being able to mess up one team fight and then suddenly they have the scaling advantage.
Nikchu finding Kiratine here, though, in the river. Fast Runner and Springding are going to come in. There we go. We have the Death Charge, but here comes Jen. Sand United comes forward. A massive slam. Springding gets almost one shot. The heal comes through, but here comes Django with the teleport to follow it up. But it is after the action. All does resolve. He's not needed there, unfortunately, but they do have all members bot side. Django gets jumped on by 2 members of Destiny, but Ardona's going to get hooked up. He's going to get CC'd. The stun is nearly there. Big Petrifying Gaze, though, into a Moonfall. Deletes 3 members of Youngbloods. That was disastrous. And now we see Dark Knight and Spingding running for their life. away from the ensuing members of Destiny.
It was looking really good for Youngbloods there when the Ornn ult was getting called in. Dark Knight had a great position for his ultimate over there, but unfortunately the Destiny ults came through just a bit earlier and really snowballed that fight. Yeah, it was really beautiful for DST Guard to land that clutch Petrifying Gaze, but they have to be playing around those cooldowns. It's very easy to tell when a Cassio wants to ult you. It's basically when her back is to the wall, she is going to drop that ultimate there, and they weren't playing around it at all, and they got super punished by that cooldown.
Yeah, massive 2-man Petrifying Gaze into the 3-man Moonfall, just smelting those health bars off the side of Youngbloods. Now, these are tanky boys that they blew up, but they don't have those items yet, not even a mythic completed on the tank, so they only really have base stats to play with at the moment, so they really have to be careful making those kinds of plays. They're not invincible just yet.
And yeah, this is the weakness of that Vayne. We're seeing she's getting very close and personal. Meanwhile, you would have been peppering down long-range shots as a Cogmore here. She's getting very close to these champions like the Diana and the Cassios, to the fact where they can drop their ultimates on her pretty easily in these fights. And that's the main weakness you're talking about here. Oh my god!
Into the depth charge, Ardmona!
Doesn't end up
manages to dodge the depth charge. I'm not sure how, but here we go. Kirichin looking to finish off Nictu, and it does look like he's going to be able to. The flash coming through a little bit late. Fast Runner looking to be next. He misses.
No.
He misses the dredge line on the wall. He's going down. Spingding looking for the 1v1 at Aceco, but I don't think that's a 1v1. You win, my friend. He is going to get taken down, and they find themselves the kill onto Spingding and Nictu with Fast Runner running for his life, but Spingding was able to take out Ardmona in the back. I did see that. Didn't see that at first, rather, so not a complete loss, only a 1-for-2 trade.
Yeah, and these mid laners are going at it right now, that neither one's giving up despite the health bars being so low. I think if Dark Knight had the amount of gold that DST Guard, it wouldn't have even been close. That Vel'Koz would have smashed out DST Guard, but unfortunately he's got enough to afford his mythic and plenty of magic resist to back it up in the ways of that verdant barrier. Meanwhile, in the top lane, the only champion that was left alone with that tower was Django, but unfortunately the Ornn doesn't really tear apart your structures. Not really going to pick up a huge punish there, so it's just a net positive gain for Destiny.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if Ornn is going to go for those Anathema's chains potentially to just really make this Shen side lane a little bit more manageable for himself. We do see Spingding going in onto Kiritine though. They're trying to one-shot Spingding the best they can, and they might actually be able to do it. They do take him down, and the Sand United is there. They keep getting outplayed in these bot lanes, and Nictu is going to go down as well. They're looking to follow it up on a Fast Runner. I don't think they have the damage, and that's going to be 4 members bot side to secure this dragon.
Yeah.
So they're going to dive him. They're taking it all the way.
All the way. Probably the dragon afterwards. Destiny have come to play. They are incredibly disappointed with their last performance, and they are here to make a statement versus an undefeated team that is just getting dismantled by the likes of Destiny here. And I think it's just they're really challenging them in this bot lane, but Destiny have the mechanics to back it up. This isn't any other bot lane in Northern Territory esports so far they've run into. This is the OG bot lane. They're not even playing with their original support, and they're coming and they're just absolutely dismantling Spingding and Fast Runner, who have been given lots of trouble to the other bot lanes of next tier esports here. So it's pretty interesting to see.
Very, very scary when you are a Vayne having a set run at you and a Tristana run at you like that. And I mean, you know, it's one of those situations as Vayne where you really have to stay back, stay out of their engage range, let your front line walk in first. You can't be walking in with your front line like that. You are just going to get exploded. But hang on, looks like we might have a pick onto Jimbo Baggins here. Signs of life potentially coming out from Youngblood as they also find themselves catching out Kiritine.
Yeah,
Depth charge comes through. They're going to chase him down. Vayne is going to secure the shutdown for there, but Jimbo Baggins barely escaping with his life.
Yeah, they have a little bit of an angle to pick something up here. Maybe the Rift Herald with the numbers advantage, but even still, I'm incredibly scared of that Diana. Already completed Nash's, and he's face checking him. Yeah, no need to play-by-play that. That is a right click from the Diana and the Tristana after the Moonfall was dropped there. No real skill required. They just made a grave error, not playing around the vision there. Disrespecting where the Diana and the Tristana could have been, and they get taken down pretty swiftly. So their opportunity to take a Rift Herald was immediately cut short. And yeah, again, can't afford those sort of mistakes when you're behind. You had an opportunity to get back into it, but it's snatched right away. In fact, it's probably put you even more behind. So
yeah, almost a 10k gold advantage over the Destiny at only 17 minutes into the game. It's definitely looking disastrous, but like we said, there is that scale factor on the side of Team Youngbloods, and at the same time, you know, they do have a team that is able to sit back and just really play safe. They can just wave clear with the Vel'Koz into infinity and just kind of wait for those ornaments to come in and start snowballing their gold advantage back slowly that way. But I don't think Destiny's going to let that happen. I think they're definitely going to be very proactive here with their lead.
yeah, they're doing a pretty impressive job thus far. The Baron is spawning in 2 minutes, and normally that's not too relevant, but a team this accelerated has so much damage to do it. You get the Saint and the Shen to tank it up, and the Cassio, Diana, and the Tristana are probably going to rip it to shreds at this point, so you got to be even careful about that objective. They're just going for a straight up dive on the Ornn, which almost never happens.
Dirty needs to be careful here. The Ornn Horn does come through. It doesn't look like it's going to land onto anyone important here. He's just tickling the overheal barrier of Ardmona, and he's going to get taken down, and they aren't going to lose anyone for it. Nictu getting a little bit aggressive here, and unfortunately, Spingding getting caught in the petrifying gaze, and he's going to go down. Fast Runner maybe getting a little bit overzealous here, and he's going to get hard punished along with Nictu as they get melted down. Now they're looking for Dark Knight, and it is just a walkover from Team Destiny.
Yeah, no, at this point, the only sad thing about you feel about Team Destiny is that you can't really end the game earlier. The Baron's not up yet. You're dropping the Rift Herald. You're doing a pretty good job. Maybe get an inhibitor here, but yeah, there's basically no chance left for Youngbloods. This composition is just way too late game, way too scaling focused, and when a team's snowballing this hard, there's no chance of getting to it. We see how little angles this Vayne has to get in. She's getting some free hits onto the Diana because she has no abilities, but yeah, when everything's up, this Vayne really has no way into this fight, and if her tanks try and make the way in for her, then they just fall over so quickly to the extremely fed Destiny. You're basically looking for picks and scraps at this point. If someone's split pushing too far up on their own, you may have an opportunity there, but in terms of winning the game, you got to do so much work. So many mistakes have to happen in conduction for Destiny to drop the ball.
There's always potential for a Baron steal here, and that is going to be kind of disastrous because we mentioned, you know, the scale factor on the side of Youngbloods definitely is there. If they're able to get Baron and use it to stall out the game, prevent Destiny from ending, it could put them back into maybe a position of life. Right now, they do have to be very, very scared.
Yeah, I'll have to see it to believe it. Nictu is a pretty impressive player with the plays he's able to do right now. I don't think we've ever seen him put in a worse position. So really all or nothing onto that play here, as Destiny are just not giving them that opportunity to find the catches here. The DST guard's playing so far back mid, and the rest of the team are just rolling around together.
Rocket jumped on. This is going to be a no-go for Spingding. Unfortunately, he's going to get melted down in the bot lane. Left, right, good night, taken out, and now we've got 3 members of Team Destiny pushing in this bot side.
Yeah, the Tristana is just completely disrespecting the Vayne in the 1v1 there. It wasn't even a 1v1 towards the end, but normally you see...
Maybe looking for a pick on DST guard here. The Petrifying Gaze does come out as well as the Flash, but Fast Runner forced to get out of there very quickly before he gets taken down. But here we go. Looks like we're seeing a bit of a retaliation come through from Youngbloods.
Yeah, they drop all the ultimates. Yeah, but not too much to their name, and Shen's just having a jolly good old time, holding ult the whole time. Knows he doesn't need to drop it for his team. And yeah, there's just not too much they can do here. It's just no chance of coming in for this dragon. The Baron is alive now. They got to fight that off here. They've got waves crashing in the bot side, the top side, and in the mid lane. It's looking pretty grim, but at least they have a decent vision line. So they have pretty good information of what Destiny's trying to do. Yeah, just looking at the scoreboard, that Asuko probably with one of the worst games of his season, and now transitioning in probably one of the best games he's had this season.
Absolutely, Diana's still definitely fitting the bill of an Asuko champion. Very bad when behind, but you know, at the same time, also a character that can snowball very, very hard like the Echo and like the Lee Sin, but also just has that like immense team fight utility of just being able to dive in, click R, click Zhonya's, and just kind of like win a team fight by yourself for your team.
Yeah, it's a lot simpler of a game plan than the Echo. Normally, Echo, you're trying to find backline access, you're trying to set up huge stuns, you want to make sure you're pressing your ult correctly. Diana is just like, you're looking for that one angle where you can pop your ult and just, your job's done after that. The ultimate is really disgusting. Ardmona looking to contest a red buff 1v4, but decides against it very wisely, but it still would have been entertaining nonetheless. Keratin has zero respect to all the damage that Youngbloods has. He's just running in.
Spaceship needs to watch out. Almost a third of his health taken out by a single Diana Q.
Yeah, this is a pretty back to basics game for Destiny. They usually have compositions like this where they have someone just split pushing in the side all the time. The rest of the team runs train, they use the teleports, they use the rotations to their advantage, and they catch people out in macro decisions here.
Diana going in. Does have the Moonfall available if need be.
But yeah, the Baron's going down in the meantime. They don't even know Asuka is trying to perform a 1v4. Maybe they go on him now, but even then it's too little too late as the rest of the team converges. Shen always on standby at any point to come assist his Diana there. There's real no opportunity for Youngbloods at all here.
Yeah, Destiny are looking to really close out this game as soon as possible. Could probably do it through the top side if they wanted to, but are looking to do it safely. Push down mid, get a second inhibitor.
I like that
put the
dodge.
pressure on.
I like that dodge. When you're just basically...
Oh, it's looking to go forward. The Moonfall is there. They don't manage to pop Spingding, though. This could be disastrous. A bit of a throw from Aceco, potentially. The exhaust is dropped, and he is going to go down. That's going to be a massive shutdown going over to the side of Vayne.
Oh, big ult.
1,000 gold Lifeform Disintegration Ray is there. The Ornhorn coming through finds itself onto Jimbo Baggins and Keratin, but there is no follow-up available. But without Aceco, you have to wonder how they're going to be able to siege this mid lane.
They still have the Baron buff, but they are outnumbered. But there's no ultimates left on the side of Youngbloods. There's just basic abilities, and this Tristana is still huge. You're still suffering in the damage department for champions like Set, face tanking you all day. And yeah, it's still looking pretty rough. They don't have the wave clear necessary to take out Baron minions. They are going to walk this down, but still, if they find a stray hook onto the Tristana, maybe, just maybe, they could turn this around, but with the numbers advantage. But again, like, they don't even care. This Set just runs straight bot lane. They're just continuing to split push with the support of all things now. Vayne might be chasing down
trying to run away. Spingding, though, getting caught out by the Condemn on the wall. We'll see if he's able to win this 1v1. It's the 80 carry against the support.
Yeah, he tries to
flash
that.
Comes out from Vayne basically on the spot, but he is able to manage to grab himself the victory in that 1v1 at least. Here we go. Ardmona is not going to let it slide. Rocket jump into a smooth little ultimate there. Throws out the Buster Shot, and that's going to be that. They are going to find themselves Django here by the looks of it as well. No! Just gets out with the skin of his teeth. And Ardmona, though, Lifeform Disintegration Ray almost turning it around. No, he is able to get out there safely. Definitely multiple members of both teams here getting out on the skin of their teeth. It's very close, but Destiny do come out a little bit ahead as they're able to claim this bot lane tier 3.
Yeah, just one more tick on that Vel'Koz ultimate would have been able to claim Ardmona there and the bounty on his head, but unfortunately, it was not meant to be for Dark Knight. He's still going to stay poor in this game. They're looking for more players while they're discoordinated.
Comes through. It does find itself onto DST Guard. Aceco goes in, though. The Moonfall almost melting through Fast Runner, and he is taken down by DST Guard. Aceco wants more. Dash forward onto Django. Both dashes are used. Here comes Spingding. Diana does have no dash for a little while available to access the backline. We'll see if they're able to maybe stabilize. They do get the inhib, though.
Yeah, they're still looking. Destiny just reset. You've been pushing the envelope for so long here. Dragon spawning. They'll probably get that and reset. Ardmona didn't even go back. He just went for jungle camps to go lifesteal back in the action straight away. Finally, they're going to put the pedal down. They're going to step on the brakes here. Just take the soul. Probably reset. Take some jungle camps and then look for the end here. Put Youngbloods out of their misery because they've just been struggling to stay afloat for the last, let's say, 15 minutes of this game. They really got blown up so early on, and even though they're playing some of these fights pretty well, there's just no opportunity for them to get back in.
I definitely do think it's quite brave that Vayne going for the Phantom Dancer Infinity Edge build here instead of something like the Wit's End into the Guinzu's Rage Blade, just trying to stay a little bit more durable, a little bit more tanky against this Diana who is incessantly jumping on you in every single fight, as well as the Cassiopeia backing her up every single time. Because I think the front line is able to really put up a respectful threat towards Ardmona, but not towards the other two. So I think Wit's End definitely would keep Vayne alive a little bit longer. Hang on, Aceco is getting melted here from the Lifeform Disintegration Ray. Stand United comes through, but is it going to be in time? No, it's not. And they get a massive shutdown over onto Sejuani. Nikchu picking himself up a nice little bit of pocket money. Jimbo Baggins needs to be careful here as well.
Yeah, GC guard getting locked up by Nikchu, but does not care. He has his eyes on Django and is going to take him down. Nikchu now finds another spot of butter. There's no backup coming for you. There's just another support. They need to get out and assist their team.
Yeah, these tanks are just no match for the damage output of this Infernal Soul. And DST Guard, very aggressive flash of the wall, and it's going to pay off in dividends as they find themselves fast runner. Set ult lands onto Dark Knight 721, forcing out the Zhonyas, but 3 members of Destiny are surrounding him. He's going to get taken down in no time, and he does. And now we see Destiny with Vindication taking down the Nexus in this 3rd game of the night.
Yeah, the story of tonight is the undefeated will be defeated. Destiny only had 1 loss prior. They cop another tonight, and Youngbloods with 0 losses, receiving their first at the hands of Destiny, really spicing up the tables here in terms of the tournament bracket. So some teams that were looking pretty dominant show some signs of weakness finally after we are 5 weeks in. We're seeing some teams show some weakness here, and we'll see if that trend continues. But as for tonight, that is the final game. Destiny do finish off on a high note. Youngbloods finally getting taken down. And yeah, I would like to say it was a pretty enjoyable game, but that game was pretty over early on. They dedicated so much towards that bot lane, and unfortunately it just didn't go to the side of Youngbloods there. Destiny were just absolutely running that bot lane. Ardmona and Kiratine, such a strong duo in that second game. They definitely had some mistakes to correct in the first game, and they've just fixed it completely there.
Yeah, Ardmona definitely showing off on the damage charts, popping off on that Tristana. And honestly, the pressure was really put on bot lane early. Ardmona was getting ganked by Nikchu repeatedly. Django even TPing down a few times and Dark Knight showing up. But Ardmona and Kiratine basically just micro outplayed in those situations, blowing up Spingding at the slightest misstep, which there was a few, and really capitalizing on all the way. They blow up Spingding, the Stand United comes through. Suddenly, what looked like it was a 3v2 has turned into a 2v3, and they just turn things around and really, really make some awesome plays. And that is kind of the beauty of Shen. That's why I like watching him, definitely.
Yeah, it was definitely a bit of a fiesta in the bot lane. You can't put all the blame onto Youngblood's bot lane, as there was tons of external factors, but we had to expect that coming in, as of course when you're playing this sort of composition with 3 beefy boys and that Vayne there, you're looking to be that hyper carry. The Vel'Koz is going to be a nice complement, but it's really the consistent damage that comes from your AD carry, and Destiny of course see that Vayne, and they're going to throw everything in the kitchen sink at you in order to stop that Vayne getting out of laning phase. Otherwise it's going to be an issue for them, but they dealt with it quite nicely. Ardmona and Kiratine doing a plenty good job on their own, but then you just start adding in a Suko into the mix on that Diana. It just became impossible for the Vayne to play the game.
Absolutely. So if you want to talk about a few little bits of MVPs here, talk about who's going to be grabbing that one away.
Yeah, I think for the MVP of Destiny, you're probably looking towards some of those crucial fights were won off the back of Diana ultimates there, and Asuko definitely no slouch in the early game. In fact, I think he just got a bit lazy in the late game, just dropping kills there. He was having fun, but he played the early game pretty flawlessly for that Diana. He ended up losing his flash early, didn't impact him at all, ended up just doing plenty in that early game to accelerate his team and shut down that Vayne.
I think DST Guard did land a lot of great petrifying gazes. Honestly, if I was to pick someone, I have to say down in that bot lane fight, the game was kind of even. You could even say Youngbloods had a bit of a lead, but it was that massive 2 to 3 man petrifying gaze, setting up the huge moonfall that really turned the game around and was able to save a couple members of Destiny from dying in that team fight. And then not only that, but then, following it up with more great petrifying gazes, just a constant threat, kind of winning the skill matchup in the mid lane into Vel'Koz as well. Dark Knight, no slouch on those mid lane mages. So I think Guard played really well as well, but I could also see it given away to Aceco.
Yeah, I think it's pretty hard to say. Obviously, the petrifying gaze obviously hugely complemented the Moonfall plays, but just the way that Guard was actually struggling quite a little in that matchup in the mid lane. There was plenty of times where both mid laners had a handshake, but the difference was Guard was incredibly far ahead. I believe all Dark Knight had at some point, he had a lost chapter to Guard's Liandry's and the Verdant Barrier, just an item and a half basically up onto that Vel'Koz, and he was still getting traded pretty evenly. So I think he delivered in the team fights pretty well, but in that laning phase he wasn't able to push that advantage as much as I'd liked there. So
yeah,
I
I could see that for sure. Well, happy to give it away to Aceco if that's what you think. I could definitely see that line of logic.
Yeah, Isuko, I think he had a pretty good comeback. He suffered the most for sure off that last game, and he hit back the hardest this game.
That's also true.
I'm willing to give it to him, and now we transition over to Youngbloods here.
I think it's pretty clear, honestly. I think Dark Knight played phenomenally for how hard he was kind of getting screwed over by, the Diana and the bot lane being very, very ahead. But, he was making some serious pickoffs with those Lifeform disintegrations in the late game. We saw, even though he was super behind, he was still able to nearly solo kill DST Guard. And I mean, if we look at the damage graphs, he is like double whoever is in second. He's double Vayne's damage who's in second place. So, in my opinion, easily he had the most impact on his team.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was thinking. I'm thinking, what if this Vel'Koz just had that little bit extra gold? There are so many plays where he's just barely killing people. The Lifeform disintegration rate has just left someone on a slither. It happened at that fight where there's the massive Cassio ult into the massive Diana ult that happened so many times at their inhibitors. It happened in the mid lane 1v1s. There's so many times where Dark Knight is just shy of getting this kill, and I'm thinking maybe if Nichu had directed some of that early attention to his lane and, told the bot lane to play passive, take bot lane as anti-intuitive as it sounds, with that Vayne being the hyper carry, if they just played weak side and they put more resources into mid, I think they had a real shot at winning this game, because Dark Knight ended up putting out so much damage, and that's basically what you're expecting from your AD carry. You wanted to pick a safer AD carry that can just reliably put out this damage, can navigate their way around this Diana, and that's basically what the Vel'Koz was doing. He's staying completely out of range, just chucking out the damage. The tanks in there, CCing, doing all they can, and the carries are just putting in the work. But unfortunately, he was putting in the work for 2 carries here. Vayne wasn't doing enough, and that's probably why Youngbloods fell over so easily.
Yeah, so, I think composition wise, I think it all kind of fell apart around the Nautilus. I think Nautilus definitely did a lot of work here, but just when it came to just the overall composition strengths, you already have Sejuani ult and Ornhorn to be able to pull the trigger and make picks in the late game. You don't really need any more of that out of Nautilus. In your support role, if you instead had to pick someone who is able to just keep this Vel'Koz and this Vayne alive, pick something like a Seraphine, which would have complemented really well, pick something like the Lulu, like the Soraka, something like that. It would have just made, I think, a lot of these fights a lot scarier if you just had that extra little bit of durability. I think Soraka especially is quite good into like the dive compositions, so is the Lulu, into like the Shen, the Diana, the Tristana. You try and jump in on a carry and they get Lulu ulted, all of a sudden everyone around them gets knocked up, and then they have 1 billion health. So Lulu was not banned. Lulu was on the table, and you could have easily taken Lulu Vayne or Cog Vayne or any of those hyper carries, and I feel like this game would have been very, very different. So, bit of an interesting pick that they went for Fast Runner there after double tanks locked in first phase. I definitely would have liked to have seen the Enchanter pick, but I don't know. I've said it once and I'll say it before. Darwin players are just allergic to playing Enchanters. Even if the composition is so good for one, they're just really scared.
Yeah, we haven't had enough play. We saw a really good game versus For Fun, AD Astro versus For Fun. One of the main factors is the reason why they lost. They ran a super healing comp. They ran Mundo top and they ran Soraka. And even though they were stacking this grievance wounds, they were just playing these fights out slow and they were just out sustaining them so easily. And Mundo got absolutely out of control. They were just heavily diving onto the Soraka, but unfortunately their engage wasn't good enough. The Soraka just sat back in the back lines, and she just landed Q, she pressed W, and I think I checked the healing done at the end of the match is upwards of like 30,000 or something ridiculous. So
Yeah, I think Soraka, Seraphine, Lulu, and Karma, those champions are quite broken in my opinion. So I definitely, especially in comps like this where it suits them so well, it would have been great to see. But maybe just a little bit of unfamiliarity on those from Fast Runner. So potentially something that you could try out maybe in some norms or some scrims, and just add that extra little bit of flexibility to your team's ability to play certain comps.
yeah, for sure. I think definitely back to the drawing board for Youngbloods. They've had a pretty good run, but as to most teams that have a pretty undefeated streak, you get pulled down to earth at some time. And I do think the draft was a major issue. Picking 3 tanks at the start just completely opened up what they wanted to do here and gave a pretty simple game plan for Destiny. So obviously back to the drawing board, we'll try to figure out our picks a little bit better, hide our strategies, be a bit more flexible, and I'm sure they'll come back even stronger than they were before. So definitely looking forward to the future of Youngbloods, and definitely looking forward to see whether Destiny can stay consistent if they drop games like this For Fun. We've still got plenty of games to go for the rest of the season, so if they're able
I'm
to drop a
excited to see
game,
For Fun what they're gonna keep doing off of this high.
yeah, definitely.
Hopefully they don't let it get to their head and they're able to, identify why that game went so well, and hopefully realize that a lot of it was just because kind of a cheesy 3 kills at level 1, which definitely makes the game a lot easier. But at the same time, they also made certain plays like pressuring Aceco early. Aceco likes to play these kind of junglers that are very, very terrible when they're behind. And in games like this, where he is ahead on the Diana, you can see it's terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying. But then you can see in like games like the last game on the Echo, where when he's behind, he's basically not there. So picking the things like the Xin Zhao, who are able to just really just crush him early and stop him from snowballing and getting a lead, are definitely great picks. And I hopefully they can identify why the picks they picked into Destiny worked so well, and keep that moving.
Yeah, definitely an exciting week. Some cracks starting to form in the armor of the top tier teams, so we're able to see how this season's going to develop. They are off to a great head start here, but there's no guarantees. Of course, remember, guys, that top 4 is what you want to aim for in aiming for those playoffs here. So these teams like For Fun, they're down really bad, but there's plenty of games to go now, and if they're taking games of Destiny, the road to the top is going to be as hard as you think. So definitely some comeback stories in the making there. I'm excited to see how the rest of the season goes. But that is all for us tonight. We are almost at 9 p.m. Perfect cutoff time. But we're just going to do one more shout out to the sponsors and call it a night, guys. Alright, so thank you so much to McDonald's Darwin, Paul's Iced Coffee, and Northern Territory Government, the major sponsors of the season, helping us out so much, giving us so much, and giving back to you guys. It's really a cycle of love here. And speaking of love, send some love out to the minor sponsors, which are Next Year Entertainment, Serotonin Beauty, VR Gamers, Gaming Creations, Tracy Village Social and Sports Club, the Hot Springs Tavern, the Rabbit Hole, Palace of India, Freshpoint Cafe, John John's, Diamond Barbers, District North Kitchen, Wicked Energy, Joyce Main, Next Level Gym, and Bell Accounting. Guys, make sure you are supporting local, because these guys support us, and yeah, if we all support each other, then NT is going places. So with that said, I am signing out for the night, unless Cadis has any last words.
No, definitely not. I think you summed it up beautifully.
Alright, thank you so much, guys. Plenty of chat activity today. Of course, Bilbo taking home the free iced coffee. More to come on Saturday, guys. Make sure you're tuning into that stream. And of course, some more banger games on your way. So, I'm cutting it off there, guys. Fade out to some music. Peace.